everybody?
This is it?
Hey, what up, everybody? Welcome to Pale Blue Dot. I'm here in my new studio, which is the side of my bedroom, because we're still getting after it.
Yeah, getting it in.
Still trying to get that studio space. Hanging out today with my man, Lance Johnson. Lance, what up?
What's up, man?
Lance is a good buddy of mine. We actually met. It's funny. Last podcast I did was with Fabian. I think I met you literally 2 days after I met Fabian.
Really?
Yeah.
At Fabian's little house.
At Fabian's thing. Yeah. Because so I met Fabian at Capital Factory, and then 2 or 3 days later it was that birthday. Was it his birthday party or a housewarming?
It was
something like that. I think it was housewarming.
It was so long ago I can't remember.
it was like a year ago.
Yeah, it was a long ass time ago.
Well, with how much you do, it probably seems like forever ago.
Yeah.
But I met him, and then we had that housewarming party, and then you were there, and I remember Fabian was cool for me because that was the first entrepreneur that I'd hung out with outside of Chicago to get that Austin entrepreneur.
What Capital Factory? You said it was at a meetup? Or?
Yeah, it was at a meetup. It was I think it was just the
you know?
entrepreneur meetup. I think it was literally just called Austin Entrepreneurs.
Yeah. And that was before did the whole, what was it, ATX e-commerce thing?
Yeah. That was before he started that. So he was totally different species of person for me, man. That was my first Austin entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Was hey man, I got an online company. I may not eat for 3 weeks, but that's all right. Because you can only do that in Austin, right?
Right. I mean, man, for me, I was about to move up back home to Dallas after I graduated college. But the reason I didn't was because of the entrepreneurial community here in Austin. At home, it may be a lot of meetups and groups and all that, but I don't feel the community has anything like on Austin.
No, it doesn't, man. Honestly, so I was reading an article a couple days ago that was showing well, for one, this, Austin is the fastest growing city in the U.S. by a lot. But I was reading
the number one?
Yeah. It's
right now?
Fastest in the fastest.
I thought it was top 5. I didn't think it was number one.
It's the fastest growing. It's the second or third real estate market, which might be what you're thinking of. Okay. But it's the fastest. It's the fastest growing overall city. And where people were coming from is crazy. So it was Houston and Dallas was number one, if I'm remembering this correctly, followed by Chicago, followed by New York. And Houston and Dallas was actually kind of funny because it's exactly what you're saying. It was people that were I can't deal with this part of Texas. I want to be around smart, grungy, nose to the grindstone kind of entrepreneurs. And so everybody just comes down here for that.
Yeah. What made you move to Austin?
So
I can't remember if you told me.
Yeah. So I moved to Austin just because I wanted to get out of Chicago.
Yeah.
So it was half wanting to get somewhere warmer, and then half wanting to go somewhere where people were just more invested in building stuff.
Yeah.
Because I'd started my company, the software company that I had. Started with that lawsuit that I told you about a while back. That kind of got crazy, and I was like, man, I got to go somewhere where people want to help me grow,
right? Instead
of just being super competitive. And I came to Austin on a business trip, and literally just till 4 a.m. just walking around the city down on 6th Street on a Friday night, and I was like, man, this place is just magic.
Yeah,
right.
The vibe of it.
Yeah, it's just Austin's just lightning in a bottle, man. Every time I bring anybody down here, they fall in love with this place.
Especially somebody in the 20s. Yeah. I feel for 40 and below, I mean, I wouldn't say 40 and below. I would say in your 20s, as far as right now where you could be as far as growing a career and all that, especially in the entrepreneur space, there's no better place to be. Yeah. No, it's totally true. Well, so I forgot this one on the list. So San Francisco and LA, that's second or third in terms of total population. I know a lot of California people coming from that whole area.
Yeah. It's crazy. It really is.
I just saw a bumper sticker that said, "Don't California pick Austin, Texas, or RC," or something like that. I was like, damn, they must be rolling up in there.
Yeah. Well, so what do you think about that? I was thinking about it the other day. There's that core of Austin people, right? The old timey, hipster dudes that have been around here for 20, 25 years that are we got to preserve this and keep it small. But to me, it's always no, just bring anybody and everybody in you possibly can. Let them experience that culture and let it grow and change. But, I mean, you've been here for a while. What do you feel about all the people coming here?
I don't know. I'm not. It's not something that I'm tripping on at all. But at the same time, I don't want it to grow without growing too fast with the wrong people, but a slow growth. You know what I mean? I just don't want to be too many people too fast. So the red, all the housing and stuff. Hopefully that'll be able to stay up as long as as
the housing market. I'm talking about.
Yeah, the housing market as far as residential spots being able to grow at the same rate that the people coming in do.
Yeah.
Because if not, then it's going to get, going up and up and up on that rent, the housing, the cost of housing will go up as well. And slow growth is what I want. But as far as people come in, I don't care at all.
You want more.
I don't want more necessarily. This is cool with me.
Yeah.
But I know it will grow.
It's already I feel like even since I've been here, it's gotten busier.
You should have, man.
I mean, because how long have you been here again?
I came down to this area in 2009 after junior college, and
it's like right when the boom started, basically.
It didn't start really, I would say, until 2011.
Right.
Because actually, I would say early 2012 maybe, because at that point it went from 800,000 people to what is that right now? 2.2 million.
Yeah.
So when I first went to Austin, it was at 800-something thousand people.
That's crazy.
And now I said, and so it more than doubled.
Yeah.
And
that's so crazy in 7 years.
Yeah, it just went from being focused downtown and on. I mean, as far as when it comes to people, of course you got double the people, double the traffic. But it's been so many businesses popping up left and right and new skyscrapers and all that. I mean, I'm not tripping on it all. But man, it was really fast.
It really was people that.
But I think it's still Austin though.
Yeah. Well, so that's I have a couple friends that have been here for 10, 15 years. And they're oh, everything good about Austin's died. I don't feel that way.
No, I've been here 8 years and I don't feel that way at all. I think the old time, the people who had their childhood here, they want to see Austin at the same way as when they were here as a child. And now as an adult, it's so much different, that they miss those little things.
Well, so what is I'm trying to remember when you came down here initially, you were working full time somewhere, right? Or did you?
When I came down here,
when you came here?
Oh, I was working at Intel.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah. It was right after I graduated.
Yeah.
In early 20.
One of those straight out of college jobs.
Yeah. Oh shit. Yeah. It's
knock everything over here. Throw it on the mic.
Man, and so it's I graduated 2012 and moved to Austin. Started working in Austin in fall of 2012 and started working in Austin early 2013. And so I was working at Intel,
for the man.
Working for the man, which is cool. But at the same time, I was going at it. You know what I mean?
Working on your side hustle.
Yeah.
So for those that don't know you, because I'm assuming probably if people are watching this, they probably do know you. It's just the early phase.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's cool.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
it's like having your blog, right? The people that read it right away are the ones that know you.
Right, exactly. The people that are behind the hustle and all that.
Yeah, exactly. But for those that don't know you, what is it that you do right now? How do you, if you had to get in an elevator and explain to somebody what you're all about?
What I do as in what's in my business, where I want to be, or
everything. How do you define Lance Johnson right now?
If someone were to ask me what's my work,
I
would tell them hey, my name is Lance Johnson. Number one, nice to meet you, and shake their hand and all that. And I'll tell them that I still own SuperFly Cables. Selling iPhone and Android charging cables. And then I would tell them that I'm also a blogger. So I'll pretty much say I'm owner of SuperFly cables and charging cables for Android and iPhone, and I blog and have a personal brand on social media sites like Instagram, Snapchat, and a blog website where I blog about men's fashion, entrepreneurship, and personal development.
Yeah. Why do you do all that?
Oh man,
what's the appeal?
Why on what? Why on which part?
So you were always busy. Literally every time I talk to you, you're like, hey, I'll respond in 7 hours at 4 o'clock in the morning.
I mean, shit.
But no. So it's a good thing. So you're always doing something. What is it that draws you to that? Because there's some people that sit and just watch TV all night. There's some people that have a 9 to 5 and they're cool with it. They come home, they're good to go.
Yeah.
But you're not like that. What is it that draws you to this life of doing that, doing the blogging, doing the personal branding, having your Instagram game on point, SuperFly, all that kind of stuff? What is it that draws you to that?
Man, it's a hard question because I always go back to why I'm doing it and what I'm doing it for. And so what I'm doing it for is to live in the house that I want to live in, have the lifestyle that I want to have, and give my family the things that I want them to have, in the life that I want them to experience. And so the reason that I hustle and grind, you know, and I focus on that part of myself so much is because if I don't, then when I'm dead, I'm in my deathbed, I'm thinking like, did I do the best that I possibly could do?
Yeah.
No. And I would say no, and that would really kill me. That would kill me probably before I die.
Yeah.
And so I just don't want to be like 30, 40 years from now. And it's like, damn, if I would have did that, then, you know, blah, blah, blah. Or if I would have tried harder, if I would have, you know, worked harder, whatever it may be, I can't live with that.
Yeah.
If that happened to me, that's like my worst nightmare. And so that's why I focus on, you know, my goals so much and always feed my mind with new stuff and try to put myself in the right environment. And also, for example, take my phone out and put it on, like, what is it?
Do not disturb, man.
Yeah, the do not disturb mode, and just get after it for a few hours because I want to see that happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if I fail at, you know, while doing that, then it is what it is. But as long as I try.
Yeah, man, no, that's good. So like I'm gonna back that up like 4 steps. So when you were working for Intel, right? You came right out of college. What were you hoping to do? Like when you graduated college, when you were looking at the world? Because I wonder like who you are right now, where you're like a go after it hustler. If that's always how you've been, or is that something that like developed when you were at Intel and you're like, I hate this? Like, talk to me about that. Like, how'd that come about?
So like coming out of college, I knew that I wanted to start an e-commerce business.
Like right away.
No, it was during, like, not right away at any point, but it was during business school, when I took e-commerce, e-commerce class. And out of all the classes and all the stuff that, you know, I studied during that whole time, I knew e-commerce would be the best option for me, just based off of the cost to start up the business, and then all the skills that I had as far as making it happen through like selling and, you know, any technology, I guess, wise, as far as like, you know, building stuff is, I mean, it just made a lot of sense to me. Yeah. You know, coming out, I was either going to like go into real estate or like go hard at the entrepreneurship thing,
which is pretty close to the same thing, right? Like
exactly. And so, with the real estate, all I thought about was, okay, I do real estate, but also, you know, build a business. And so I was like, man, I would not build a business and do real estate, but I will only do it like with real estate. Does that make sense? Yeah. And so that told me, okay, I need to go hard at it. And then in college, when I took that e-commerce class, it just made sense. And it's a thought that grew and grew and grew. Yeah. But the reason you asked, the reason why I am the way I am now, have I been like this all the time? No. Yeah.
What do you think it was that like triggered that then? Because I know like for me, it was like working in big business and doing that like 9 to 5 grind. Not really 9 to 5. I mean, there's no 9 to 5. It's like 9 to 9. You know what I mean? Like when you're in really big business. I remember putting that in and thinking, okay, eventually I'm gonna arrive. Like eventually, like I'll get mine. I'll be making good money. I'll be happy. Like I'll have enough time to do what I want to do. And doing that for like 2 years and then being like, well, what the hell? Like, where is this? I'm just working more than I was before. Yeah. I'm still not making enough money and I'm exhausted. So for me, it was like, I got to do something else. Was it something like that, or was it something totally different for you?
For me, it was, man, as far as hustle wise, throughout my whole childhood, I loved basketball. I wanted to so badly be an NBA basketball player. So
I did too, believe it or not.
I mean, yeah. And so that, like, pursuing that, I knew that I had to work a lot harder than everyone else. Sure. You know, from my people who, like, you know, were my mentors, told me how, you know, I had to work on my game and do this, and, you know,
because you had all the white kids who were just eating your lunch, right?
You know, if not, they would have. But in the beginning, like, I was so obsessed when it came to basketball, like, you know, getting, like, fulfilling my potential in basketball, that it would be like nights, numerous times a week. Like, my dad would come out, you know, on a Wednesday, Lance,
Australia.
You know, he'd open up the door to the garage and see me out there still playing. Lance, come inside, you know.
Did your dad play, or was he? Huh? Did your dad play?
He played football.
Okay.
He played football back in the day. My mom played basketball.
Oh, wow. So
she's where I get it from. Yeah. She played basketball at Texas Women's University. You know what that is? Yeah. And Denton. Yeah. Played basketball there, and look at you.
Spilled on myself already.
But yeah, she played basketball there, and I got like
her mouth, ladies and gentlemen. You're what?
I got her like touch, because my dad, he's like hard. I played basketball with him. He like shoot it. off the backboard. Too strong every
Shatter.
time. Yeah, my mom, she has a touch, and so I got it from her. But
stroking it.
That's like where I got the drive, and that's where I got
from both of them.
The work ethic.
Yeah.
No, from just like my whole childhood experience of wanting to like play basketball in college and all that. And so I knew I had to work my ass off, and that's where it developed as far as the mentality of
from
my
sports.
Work ethic. Yeah. Sports.
Were your parents like after sports? Obviously, they didn't do that for a living. I'm assuming.
No.
What did your parents do?
My dad, he's a manager at Peterbilt, Peterbilt Motors, and pretty much what they do is they build the entire machine. They build the entire 18-wheeler, and so he works with the parts, and he manages pretty much manages inventory within the plant where they build the trucks. And then my mom, she was a 32-year PE teacher at an elementary school.
Wow. So you're not talking about just like a basketball player. Like your mom was like totally committed to fitness.
Oh, 100%.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Like throughout my whole childhood, it'd be like I wake up early, go to practice, and it'd be like 5:30 or whatever. And she'll be like in she goes, "This is the workout room." Yeah. And she'd be like, "One, two, one." Watching her little videos.
Did she have them online?
Yes, VHSs.
No way.
VHS. This is back in the 90s.
That's crazy.
90s, 2000s. VHS just pop them in and like shake them up like a girl in like a speedo, smiling at the camera. Shake them up one, shake them up two.
Do you still have those?
I don't know. She probably threw them away.
You need to get those online.
Oh man, I should take a picture of them soon.
No, that can be a new blog. That is awesome. Dude, there's nothing cooler than like 80s and 90s PE. That was when we were doing fitness right.
Oh, yeah. So every morning I see her in there doing that. Yeah. I'm like, okay. That taught me something as far as like, okay, if you want to remain in shape, you got to work discipline. At it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so, but yeah, that was, as far as like my expectation for like what I want, I would say is one of the most important things as far as like when it comes to my drive, because I expect myself to be at a certain level, and then second comes that work ethic, to follow that. You know what I mean? And
I'm honestly like on any work ethic that I have right now. It's funny that you mentioned that you got that from your parents and like watching them. I feel like I got from my parents as well, like that example.
Yeah.
But it's interesting though, because you're somebody I know who reads a lot, who's like really interested in like, how do I set up my life so that I can be successful? Do you think that people that don't have that influence like you had or like I had with like my parents going to school, like getting doctorates, masters, that kind of stuff, do you think people that don't have that influence have a harder time getting to the point of like dedication that you're at or like that you strive for? Or do you think it's like anybody can do it?
I mean, first, I know for a fact that it comes strictly down to what you expect for yourself. And then because if you don't expect to like, have whatever, even outside of material things, if you don't expect to be considered great after you die, if you don't expect like to be on the status of some building having a statue outside, like of you outside, if you don't expect to be at that level and it's lower, it's going to lower your hustle at the same time. And so
expect to have a statue.
I mean, yeah.
Where's your statue going?
Shit, I don't know. That bitch would be up somewhere.
Lance Island.
For real, yeah. I want to have a statue, when I'm alive, not when I die. And so I want to go for great.
Yeah.
And if I land among like just somebody who was good, that's okay with me. You know what I mean? But
it's that old shoot for the stars thing, right?
And so if they don't already have that mentality or that made up in their mind, okay, I want to be, something special.
Yeah.
I want to be someone. Then they won't expect to do the things that someone on that level would, as far as like when it comes to how much they sacrifice, how much they commit to something. And so if someone doesn't have that, then man, that's going to be a deal breaker, I believe, because you can have the best, hardest working parents in the world. You can have like all the resources in the world, you know, but if you don't expect yourself to be at that, level, have the confidence going into that, then it's going to be hard for you to make that drive to do so.
What do you think like stops? Because I know some people like start off so well, right? Like you get people that are super passionate, especially if you look at like people coming out of business school, for example, or like a program like you went to, where it's like, okay, come out, you got all the skills, let's start a company, let's go. You get people that are so excited, they grind, and then they just fall off. or they like get into a comfortable job and they just settle into it and stop trying. Like, what do you think makes people stop?
They didn't realize what the hustle was. They didn't realize that they would have to commit on a whole nother level. You know, I mean, I believe that happens. I think it just weeds everyone out who isn't as committed as they say.
Yeah.
Because in the beginning, tell me if this may be different, but I believe that most entrepreneurs coming out of college, after they graduate, they start off, you know, going at it, and then life happens.
Yeah, no, it's true.
And then they start to see
like,
that
shit, I have no money.
Right, exactly. You know, they start to see that I'm not going to have like, you know, money all the time. It's not going to grow as fast as I want.
Yeah.
And there's going to be months to where you just don't make nothing.
Yeah.
And then their realization of the ride is not anything close to reality. And I'm talking from my own experience too.
Yeah. Well, so I wonder sometimes like if that's what it is, or if it's like some people just don't want as much. You know what I mean? Because like we have a friend, we won't mention his name, but you're gonna know who I'm talking about, who makes good money. He's got a lifestyle he loves. You know, he can go out mountain biking, go rock climbing, all that kind of stuff. Who keeps talking about getting into the grind, like jumping in and starting up a business or something like that, who just doesn't do it. And like it seems like for some people, the only reason they want, or that they think they want to get into that entrepreneurial hustle, is because they think maybe that's like the more glorious, more exciting, more lucrative life, but they don't really actually want it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I think some people just don't care.
Right.
Like, do you think then, like, because I've been wondering about this a lot lately, is it always better for somebody to do something like what you're doing, where they're always setting their sights ahead, pushing for something more? Or are there some people who it's totally fine, good, and satisfying and perfect for them to just kind of stay where they're at, like to settle into, you know, a corporate job or something like that?
I mean, I just think there's content people, and then there's a line here, and then once you pass this line, it's the people who are willing to do whatever it is to get the lifestyle they want, without going back to this size. You know, the people who are content.
Yeah.
And because they're content, they're used to comfort. They love comfort. And so on this side, it's the people who are always stretching themselves and taking risk. And so that's I feel like the dividing line. Like, are you willing to go on the right side, at the side where you take risk and go all out, you know, go all commit and go all for it? Or does that scare you too much to where you have to have a job, or you have to have this in your life?
Do you think those people that are on the left would be better off if they were on the right? Or there are some people that just can't hack it?
No, because people want different things in life. You know what I mean? And so for someone who isn't as ambitious, you know, their main priorities are, you know, hanging out maybe with their family, or, you know, watching movies. That may be more important to them than the climb, because it's a bitch. Everybody
we were talking about earlier. Like,
I don't recommend this for someone.
No.
I don't go around. I used to, like, you know, tell people about like entrepreneurship. Oh, it's great, blah blah blah. But I realized that a majority of people aren't ambitious, you know, in that sense to do that.
Yeah, dude. Like,
they think of the idea, they love it, just like we want to be NBA basketball players.
I am. I don't know about you.
But man, it's just like, what you have to do, I don't know. What you have to do to get there is totally different from what people are willing to sacrifice most of the time.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't tell someone who wasn't really have their heart set on this to do it.
So it's about, like, do you have what you want, basically? Like, if you have what you want, like if you're doing what you can and you're satisfied, you're good.
Right.
But what you're saying, like, your hunger, your appetite's just like bigger than a lot of other people's.
Right.
Like, what you want is like so far out that you know you're not going to get there unless you grind hard.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, the way I see it, that it makes sense to me, is like, I know that I have a lot of potential in me, and my whole goal is to maximize my potential. And so I know that if I really sacrifice on certain things and give my all, that the sky is the limit. Like, there's nothing that I can't do. It's just all about what I want to do, you know? And so,
have you always thought that? Was there like a process of like testing it out and figuring out? Like,
it was more of like over the past, I'm 27, so past 4 years of really like working in like on my business.
Yeah.
And like, you know, from the start, not even like with certain business, from the start, I mean, the journey is something that I knew that like it was all about, rather than I forgot what we were just talking about.
No, I was just talking about like if you've always
the difference between which.
No, so what we're talking about is like, because you were saying that some people just want more, like they know they can get there, or they know they can't get there, and some people settle on the way because they have what they want. Some people say, "Oh, I want this, but I can't get it." What you were saying was you knew your expectations were way up here, so you had to strive for it. But did you always know that you could get to that, or did you always know that you were capable of that? Or was it more a process of kind of like feeling it out and figuring out what you could
The
get?
mindset that I've always had is not necessarily of like a certain point, but more of, okay, I want to see what happens if I go all in and just like obsess and just focus on working my ass off and doing the most that I can possibly do to make that happen and just like see how it goes.
Yeah. Have you always been like that? Like when you were a kid, were you like that too?
It just depends on if it's with something that I really love. Then yes. With basketball, yes. With
Legos, you playing Legos when you're a kid?
Not so much with Legos. I like knew that, okay, how far can this take me? And then like, I was thinking about Legos, probably not far. And then
you could have been an architect.
Yeah, that would be a building block to be an architect. But for me and what I love, basketball and really entrepreneurship are the two things in life I felt like I've been obsessed and loved so much for a long period of time.
So you went to school, like you did a business degree and you studied entrepreneurship at school. Did you know about it prior to going to school, or is it something you discovered like at business school?
It was something I discovered, I would say maybe like middle school or something like that.
How?
It was because
that was till like 2 years ago.
It was because back in the day, like in 4th grade, like I would make flyers when we have it. You know, we first got our computer like back in. Well, how old was I?
Is it a Power PC, Mac?
I was maybe like 2nd or 3rd grade. And it was a Windows something.
Windows 95.
Yeah, Windows 95, and then we got the 98. Oh shit! And then so I would go. Yeah, exactly.
Boot up noise.
All that, you know, dial up. And so I would go in on Microsoft Word after, you know, 3rd grade or 2nd grade, whatever, you learn to type. And I like made like a little flyer.
For what?
Raking leads for $10.
No way.
Yeah. And I printed off a whole bunch, and I would just go like, because we had like it's like our neighborhood was just like a circle.
Yeah.
If you run around the whole circle 5 times, it's 1 mile.
Okay.
And so it's like, it's not big, but it's not small. And so I print off 100. And that's like enough for the whole neighborhood. Just walk around, put in all the mailboxes, and now get a call. Last can come rake our lease for $10.
Was the 1920s?
Yeah, the house phone. The house phone.
On a rotary?
No, but
you want to fight about it?
They would call me. I go rake the leaves. You know, make $10. Build, you know, a little clientele. And then
so you've always had that hustle in you.
Yeah, and then like in 6th grade, it's the best example I feel. I got some pixie sticks. You know, the little sugar.
Yeah, we used to pretend those were cocaine and
stuff. Yeah, we did too. But I used to go. One day we went to like Winn-Dixie or something in the morning. Yeah, this is back in the day, and I asked my mom for 3 packets of pixie sticks before school, and I told her it was for a project. In reality, it was, but I only needed 1. So, I got 3 just so I, squeeze out a couple extra. And with the extra 2 packets I used for the little project, school project, I sold for 10 cents a piece before school the next day. Yeah. And then I saw how it worked, and then got some more. And then like that week, I made like $52 or whatever.
Whoa, off pixie sticks?
Yeah, but I got shut down because the principal or whatever found out what I was doing, because I was selling them at lunch, selling them during class, or whatever.
Were they just like mad you were selling stuff, or like what were they mad about?
They said if it's not school related, you can't sell it. And so the $52 got confiscated for a little bit. Whoa! They told me I couldn't do it no more. Gave me it back, and that was my warning. And so like I knew this whole time I wanted to do this because I liked it so much. Yeah. And then I learned the terms later.
So you knew what entrepreneurship was later.
Yeah. I knew learn about business. And
dude, you ever see back in the day, I don't know if this is what you listened to growing up, but you ever seen the album cover for Nirvana's Nevermind CD?
Was it the little kid floating in the water?
Yeah, little kid floating in the water. But you know what he's chasing, right?
Huh?
You know what he's chasing in that picture, right?
$1.
Yeah, he's got the dollar. Yeah, we can pull it up. So my dad used to always say, like when I was growing up, that was me, because I would do anything for $1.
Yeah.
Like I used to like tell me stories. Like I used to like break stuff on purpose that I knew I could fix, so I could charge people to have me fix it.
Oh
like I just like break the VCR and be like, "Hey, you guys give me some money to fix this?"
Yeah, for real. That's what's up.
But yeah, so no, it's this baby. Like I feel like this just like is the hustle, like in a nutshell.
Just coming out like that.
And you're naked because you're so focused on what you're doing, you forgot to put on clothes.
Yeah, that's what it's about.
It is though, man. So like, you were doing all this, like you hustled as a kid. Did you go to college on a basketball scholarship, or were you playing ball?
Yeah, I played was it basketball in junior college?
Yeah.
And
I don't even know what junior college is.
Was that?
I don't think we had junior college up north.
Oh, really?
Is that really? High school, or was
junior college is pretty much college, but it's strictly for like your basics. And so it's always, a 2-year school, like freshman, sophomore year. And you're able to knock out all your basics and some, like even from your focus of your degree.
Does everybody do that here?
There's a good amount, a large amount, in Texas, of course, as far as junior college. But junior college for me was more like, coming out of high school, I wasn't good enough to get a scholarship playing, D1 or D2 basketball. And so I went to a junior college. It was the best scholarship, offer I had. And so coming out, it was just like, okay, this is the best option for me.
So were you focused on basketball, or were you focused on the business side of it? Like
I was strictly coming out of high school, I was strictly focused on basketball.
Yeah.
And then like it gradually turned over towards, okay, I'm not going to be able to make money from this, and I might as well get started on
because you were
what I need to know.
5'10" center.
Yeah, shit. Yeah, not even that tall.
Yeah, you had a 5 foot vertical though, right?
Yeah. Oh hell yeah, jump out the gym. But no, I went over to like, okay, I need to be focusing more on what's gonna make me, what I want to be later on.
What was your school like? Was it like mostly like suburby kids, or like really committed to business, or was it like
which one, high school?
I don't know. So like it's like growing up. This is gonna put me like totally in my like northern like ultra white camp where I just like don't understand what could go on like in the inner city in this area. Like, were you like, was it a pretty like mixed school that you were in, like people from like different socioeconomic backgrounds, or was it like all people from the suburbs? Like when you high school, then going into college too. Like what was that like?
I would say in elementary, it was probably at the whitest my schools ever were in grade school. Yeah. We had a majority white, and then you had trickled in like blacks and Mexicans here and there. One Asian class maybe. And so that's how middle school was, and that's how elementary was. Middle school, it was more mixed. Like it was probably majority white, but then y'all also had a larger, black and Mexican, percentage of the population.
Were you in like Dallas proper, or were you on the burbs?
I was in Denton.
Denton, that's right.
Denton, Texas.
But Denton like basically is a huge suburb.
It is. Yeah. It's probably what, 115,000 people?
Yeah,
something like that.
That's not too
and so when I was there, it had 2 high schools, and then it had 3 high schools when I was leaving. So in high school, it was like black, white, Mexican, like I would say evenly divided.
Really? Evenly?
Probably evenly divided.
That's weird.
Maybe it would be more whites, but like I feel like it was evenly divided.
Yeah. But like race aside, like looking at like the different types of people that were in your school, was it a lot of like really motivated people, or were you like an exceptional, like you were?
It wasn't a lot of
you were grinding way harder than anybody else who was there.
I feel like it was consistent as far as like the people that were motivated, that was really ambitious and like, somewhat like I am. There wasn't a lot, that were open about it because I don't know if they're too shy to or didn't want to, but in college, I would say it maybe I've seen the most because of business school, but in elementary and middle school and high school, I didn't really know anyone that, number one, I would say no athlete in the whole like high school while I was there worked harder than me at, whatever
at
sport.
School or at sports?
Not at school. Yeah. Hell no. At basketball.
So you were like, school, what the hell? I'm playing.
I was in school. I was just like, okay, I will study the bare minimum to get I made A's, B's, and then C's too. Yeah. I was an ABC student in high school.
Yeah. Without really trying.
I would probably have on a report card with 7 classes. I would get maybe
Yeah.
2 to 3 C's, you know, and then probably B is like my range. Yeah. Then the B area, and then maybe
that was your comfort zone.
Yeah, that was where I like to chill at. And then I'll probably get 1 or 2 A's.
Yeah.
That made my parents happy, so I was cool.
But dude, I miss those days. I was talking to somebody about this the other day. Like when I was in high school, you go to school in the morning, like you do clubs, do whatever, your extracurriculars, like you go to classes, sleep through them, basically don't pay attention at all. Like you had all your stuff after school, you go to football, basketball, track, whatever. And then I was going to church. And then I would go home and like get on MySpace or like MSN Messenger till like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Pass out, never do homework, wake up again at like 6:30, go to school again. Like the fact that you could do that and like get A's, that tells us one, either something's really, really wrong with our school system, like where you don't have to try at all, right? Or like, I don't know, man, it's just not like hard enough. But I remember having that mentality and like getting to college and being like, whoa, I actually have to like try. Like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, I remember that too.
It's craziness.
I mean, because my whole study, especially in college too, I would say, was to just like study the night before.
Yeah.
Just cram.
Yeah, always.
That's always my style.
It doesn't work at all. Like people tell you, oh, it doesn't work. Be like, I don't care. Yeah. I'm gonna do it anyway.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It would. If you have to be more like compared to high school, I could easily do that in high school. In college, with some classes I had to like study all the time.
Yeah.
It sucked. But yeah, made it through no shit.
Yeah, man. Did you decide while you were in college, like, did you have like a plan for business you were going to start when you got out, or was it just like you knew you wanted to do something?
Like when I was graduating?
Yeah. Like, did you? Because like, what was your college program like? Like, if you had a lot of entrepreneur programs, like entrepreneurial classes, did you guys do like mock businesses and stuff, or was it?
Yeah, we did a lot of that, and that taught me pretty much like, I guess, the lifestyle and the day-to-day, how my day-to-day would be. But I did it at the bare minimum.
Yeah.
Like, I wish I can go back and be like, you know, more in like, you know, immerse myself more into that, because I would learn a lot more than I did. But I mean, I made it work, you know what I mean? But those classes taught me a lot as far as the terminology and pretty much the business, you know, as a system, you know.
Thought you had a business real good.
Right. Hell yeah. Hey, business workouts, you know, working out your body, but, you know, business and all that.
So I did not go to school for anything like that. I said a theology degree, right? So I was studying like philosophy and theology and stuff, and I knew nothing about business. And I remember the first job that I had, like in the corporate world, sending emails to people, and like somebody responded back. I asked like a simple question, like, "Hey, how do we do this?" And their response had like literally 0 words in it that I even knew. I was like, I don't know what the hell this is. Yeah. Like you got to get the underwriting on the PPO and like what's our P&L and blah 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 blah. And I was like, I'm gonna go buy some M&Ms and hide under my desk.
No, I know what you mean. Like that's kind of how it was for me at Intel until I you know, got into it.
So did you jump like right into an internship there, or like how did you start that job there?
I knew a guy that you know Lance Jackson. Mm-mm. Well, he was my ASL.
It's like that's our baby. If you and I got married and you took my name.
Yeah, exactly. That is true. I didn't think about that. Yeah, I met Lance Jackson at Texas State when we were taking ASL. Yeah. You know, we're taking my name, Lance Johnson.
You took sign language?
Yeah.
Do you still know it?
I know little sign. Still.
Un poquito sign language.
Pass, no, I know more. And so I still like know like small combo, but like I asked, like, can you finger spell? Like I used to have to finger spell with, you know, dead people, you know, a lot more than I used to.
Finger spell sounds dirty.
Finger spell is like, you know.
I know, it just sounds.
Just spell out every single letter.
Let me finger spell you.
Finger spell. Spell my name in your pussy. No.
Whoa. Getting real.
No, but I mean, it's just, if you don't use it, you lose it. That's just simply what it is. But yeah.
So you did Intel, you started up there. Did you like that job? Like, was that something you enjoyed, or were you always like, I got to get out of here and do my side hustle?
I liked it for that moment, but I always like knew that I couldn't be there like 10 years, you know what I mean? And so while I was there, I was just always like, anytime that I can put into like either reading about something that I need to know about or working on my business, I did.
Yep.
I worked, you know, just to hold my job and, you know, keep them happy. Mm-hmm. And then I did, you know, my business, you know, that was my main focus, was my business while I was there.
Yeah. Were you always trying to like do both and hoping like you could have like the consistent paycheck from Intel and like start this up, or were you always trying to get out? And, like,
I was always trying to go mainly full time into the business, 100%.
Yeah. Did you, because I remember like we're talking about that house party where we met. I remember saying, oh, that guy is really personable and he has really cool shoes. And then I started talking. You were some Nikes, they're like super bright. I think it was like the Flies or something like that. Yeah. They're sweet. We should show you shoes. Lance has awesome shoes all the time. Damn. I have socks because I'm nasty.
Oh, you at home?
We're in my house. I can take my pants off. No,
come on now.
But I don't even know where I was going with that. So I was like, you have sweet shoes. You're really personable. And I remember telling you, because I was working on my company, my wheel company at the time.
Yeah.
We were telling you about that. And I was asking you about like your journey getting into this. And you told me, tell me if this is right, if I remember this right. You told me that like the first thing that you tried basically worked. Like the first company you tried worked, right? Was that, remember that right?
The first thing that I went all into, like the first business post college that I went, oh man, that's
what that journey look like? Like how did you go from college, I want to make good money, I want to get out there and get what's mine, get a corporate job, and then like what did it look like to go from that and then like moving into like your first business, which was SuperFly, right?
Yeah.
That was the first thing you did. Yeah, tell me about that again. I don't remember the details.
In college, I would say, I sold like shoes on eBay and all that stuff, and that's when I first like got real interaction as far as like any type of running a business.
Yeah,
and that's where I learned like packaging. I learned about shipping in real life, not just reading in the textbook. And eBay took me all the way through. I graduated. I did like. I would not be just fully, invested into it 100%, but I would be like halfway because of school.
Yeah,
I put my hours elsewhere with that. But that took me all the way through. I graduated and all that stuff, still doing it off and on. And then at Intel, I did a lot more
with that shoe business still, or something.
With the shoe business, like selling shoes on.
What was it? You just like buying?
I would just buy from China.
Yeah,
Nikes or whatever.
Knockoffs or like real ones?
They were real ones.
How'd you do that?
I just found a supplier out there, and that had them, and they sold in bulk.
Yeah,
and I'll buy them from them at lower cost, and then sell them on eBay.
There you go.
Yeah,
that's all it is.
And then that took me all the way through. I was doing that at Intel back in 2013 when I first started, and then I knew that I wanted to build like something of my own, have my own product.
Yeah.
And so that's when I started working on SuperFly Cables, and I came across an article that had pretty much the product I was looking for, and he explained like how to do it exactly.
Like somebody that had done the same thing.
Somebody that was pretty much the same business almost, and they talked about their journey, and from then like that gave me the idea of the cables, charging cables that were fabric braided. And so what I did from there was I worked on finding a supplier that would be able to give me the exact design of the cable that I wanted, and I ended up finding them, but the first supplier that I had, I just rushed the whole process, didn't do my due diligence.
Because everybody does right away.
Right. I didn't check and make sure like they had reliable resources as far as like, people they've already worked with. And I ended up like
some dude with like a van.
No. And
he's like stripping like wiring out of a house and like covering it in like duct tape. Here you go.
Damn. They did a good job as far as like what the cables look like.
Yeah.
But the cables never lasted. They weren't durable at all. And so I wasted about 6 months dealing with that inventory.
Yeah. We're talking about, just for anybody that doesn't know, we're talking about charging cables.
Charging iPhone and Android charging cables. This was back during, it was the, not the charging now with the iPhone, that's the 8-pin, but it was the 4-pin.
The 4-pin one.
So the 4-pin was the wide, it looked like a hammerhead charger.
Yeah, wasn't it like 40-pin or something like that?
I think it was 40 pin.
Looked like you were like plugging in like a nuclear reactor.
But that huge. And then the Android charging cable. Yeah. And so I had to start that process all over while I was working on a website and find another supplier. But I took my time this time and actually spent a lot more on it than I did before, because before I only spent like maybe a couple $1,000. But
you're talking about money
as far as how much I spent.
Yeah.
And so I knew that you had to really go all in as far as like with the inventory. And so I spent a little less than $10,000 on the next one by going through a company that was able to give me like a loan to do so. And so that was
give you a loan. Like was it was like a venture capital thing, or like what was
it? Was it's a company it's a company that strictly they not they pretty much give loans to people who are starting their business and they're in the beginning stage.
And how'd you find that?
Oh, I just looked up online, just like, how to get a loan or whatever. Yeah. And I came across them.
Do you remember what the name of the company was?
It was
free money for Lance.
Peoplefund.com.
People Fund?
People Fund.
Huh.
F-U-N-D.
People Fund.
People Fund.
Sounds like a grown-up Chuck E. Cheese.
It's my Chuck E. Cheese at that time, because I didn't want to take out a loan that really grew in so much interest and all that. Yeah. And so this was like the best option for me. And I only spent like, it was like maybe 3%, 2-3%.
Wow, that's interest. That's crazy.
Yeah, very low. But you had to do a lot beforehand. You had to send in like your DBA and then all your business bank accounts.
Plan, and
you had to send in your business plan. Yeah. And my business plan was 31 pages long. Yeah. That's how. You had to take it that serious. Yeah. And they did like an interview with you as well, and you just had to go through a whole process.
So was it just interest, or did they like get like a percentage of the company?
No percentage of company. Just interest. Yeah,
it's interesting. I don't think it's a lot of those. Was a Texas-based thing? Was that something based in Texas, or was that
it's not here in Austin?
Is it really?
Yeah, there's one in Austin. I think in Houston as well.
I've never even heard of that before.
Yeah.
It's hard, like they still have that, or is it like something?
Yeah, they still have it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Why is everybody always talking about there not being any money for stuff?
Man, they're just lazy. You got Kickstarter, you have places like that, and then you have
people are talking about big money. They're probably talking about like there's nobody that's going to
invest like
funding for like $1 billion in like a direct to consumer product or something. That's probably what people are meaning when they say that.
Yeah, you mean like someone who's trying to get like a loan for their business or what?
Yeah, well, so I remember Josh Baer, like one of the first summits as a Capital Factory, talking about how this area in Texas is all business to business. Like it's really hard to get like large amounts of money for like direct to consumer products.
Right.
But if you got stuff like that, that's what most people need anyway. Like if you're not trying to get like $1 billion, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. If it's not like, $200,000, then and if it's like manageable, like, 20,000 or
you're saying you're starting with like 10, basically.
Start with 10. Yeah. So it just makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. That's crazy. Isn't it? It's so weird. Like when you started that, like when you decided I'm going to go out there, I'm going to do this, I'm going to invest time and energy into it. Did you like worry about getting money, or was it something like, no, it'll be there?
As far as like paying back the loan? Or?
No, I mean like getting in the first place. Because like a lot of people that
getting money, period.
Yeah, because a lot of people are like, I don't know if you've had the same experience talking to people. A lot of people that I talk to about entrepreneurship or starting companies are like, like I don't have the money, like I don't have the time, like it's gonna be too hard to get.
Yeah. Did
you just know that was there, or did you just kind of say, I'm gonna go for this and it's just gonna come in? Like what was?
As far as like me, like knowing that money will come, I knew it would come.
Just because it was a good product, or because of
the product that I had and the return on investment, the profit margins that I had pretty much with that product. I knew that it would do well because cables is something that charging cables for your phone is something everyone in
that whole drawer right there is basically full of charging cables.
Yeah, and so everyone in the world, that's 10 and above has a phone. And so just knowing that, and then also knowing that there's a problem with the iPhone cables and how weak that they were.
Like the other like off-brand ones?
No, just like the actual iPhone cable that comes with your iPhone. The white one.
Because it splits.
It's so weak.
Like right at the end, it always like twists up and like pulls apart. Every single one I've ever had did that.
And knowing that, and that the problem hadn't been solved, on a mass scale to where someone has like an affordable charging cable that is durable. I know that hadn't been filled yet. And so I knew it would be successful.
What about the other guy? Because you said you found somebody, like what made you want to get into that?
It was so early. It was so early that he wasn't even big.
So is he smaller than like yours ended up being?
He's probably the same level as I am. Probably a little bigger now.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so it was a market that I knew hadn't been dominated yet.
Yeah.
And if you were to think about fabric braided cables and where to find one, you wouldn't really have a website that pop in your mind like a Best Buy or something like that.
Like for like a specific brand, because there's a ton of
niche.
them.
It's a small.
Well, so there's a difference because like there's a ton of them. Like if you go on Amazon, like there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of fabric. Like Amazon Basics even has their own. Like I've got one right up there.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have told you that. Should have got one from SuperFly. It's not as nice as yours are.
Awesome.
But like you have like small ones like that, but like that's not like the company, right? Like you don't think of, oh, where am I going to buy this? It's not like Apple or like, you know, like Motorola or something like that, where you think this product equals this company. It's all just like this product equals this product, and it doesn't have a brand. So there's like very few of them that have like a name, a face, like an identity as a brand.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was what you were feeling.
And so I knew that there weren't a lot out like it. Yeah. And that is something that was could be attractive, you know, to someone coming in and seeing it. And so knowing that, I just knew that it was certain things that I would have to figure out as far as like, and that would take time to grow as far as like, you know, email subscribers, getting the website that I wanted. And then also taking good product pictures and marketing was a big deal.
Yeah.
I would say advertising as well, but marketing and reaching out to like, blogs and whatever to do write-ups on and reviews was a process in its own. It took like 6 months of being full-time to actually get like a real payoff.
Yeah.
As far as like a steady sales and all that.
Was that like more because you needed that much time to get people interested in the product, or was it more because like you didn't know what you were doing? Like you had to figure it out and like learn.
It had a lot to do with figuring it out.
Yeah.
And then what I did was I'll look for as far as like what I, you know, would search for. I would read up a lot on what to do. And then I found that what would give me the greatest return at that moment would be to reach out press-wise to like online tech blogs and all that, you know, and do it in a mass way, just like hundreds a day if I can. And so I made a list in my Excel spreadsheet of companies that would do a product review for my product.
I remember you showed me that list.
Yeah,
it was like 400.
Yeah. And then I would look for the email address that I needed for that company to get in the head editor's hand or whatever that made the decisions to post on a certain product. And then I would send out, you know, once I got in contact, I would send out, you know, a sample cables for them to test out and ask for them to review it.
That's why you had to have the inventory.
Right.
Because that was an issue I ran into, like, because we were talking about like how to get traction when I had my wheel company. When my cost per item was like $500, it's really hard to send out samples to people, right? Like, how do you get traction? Well, you got to have customers. How do you get customers? We got to give them stuff to play with, right? Like, so you got to plan something like that out when you have a business,
right? And so like, and each cable like cost me maybe $6 at the most.
Yeah, so that's not.
And so like sending 3 cables, you know, in comparison to what they can do for me, it's like, you know, it makes sense. And so I did that for like. I did that for 2 months. And for those 2 months, I did this, you know, sending out cables and all that, hoping for reviews. And then I landed the big one, Gizmodo. And once that happened and they posted about SuperFly Cables, it just went from like making $150 a week to making like, that first week that it was on there, I made $10,000.
Wow, that's crazy.
$10,000 in revenue
in a week.
In 1 week. And then
was that profit or was that like?
This was sales. On that first day, it was around $5,000.
Jeez.
And then for that week, it was about $10,000. In the span of that month, it was $20,000.
How many customers was that? Like, how many people bought products?
Oh man, I can't remember. It was last March of last year. I can't remember. It was maybe 300 or something, maybe, or 200.
So that's
in the hundreds.
So that's what's crazy, right? Like you only had to have like 300 interested people in the whole world, right? So, I mean, because were you just selling in the U.S. or were you selling globally?
I was selling like internationally.
Okay. So if we're just talking about like U.S., like let's say you had just been selling here, it was what, like 360 million people? I should probably know this. However many people are in the U.S., I don't care. It doesn't matter. But if you think there's like 300 million people here, so you had like a half of 1%. Can't do math right now. It's too late at night. We drink too much beer.
Oh man, no.
It's like half of 1%.
I mean, just a fraction.
Yeah.
A big fraction.
That's all you had to get interested in. You're making $10,000.
300, I guess 300 million.
That's crazy. That is absolutely insane. Because it seems like that obstacle of like getting people interested in buying like seems so insurmountable to people. But it's just that tiny percentage that you can get from just one thing like that. Like some dude at Gizmodo is just like, this is interesting. Here you go.
Man, yeah. And so, I mean, just the fact of knowing that everyone uses charging cables, just let me know that if I worked at it and I found out the best way to, you know, market it and get it out there, it'll happen. Yeah. And so, I mean, once it happened, it just like drove me even more again because I knew that I was on the right track.
Yeah.
And it gives you proof and, you know, confidence. Okay, I may be good at this shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so
what was the biggest that it got? Like, was it that first week that was when you made the most money, or did it like
as far as sales
growing?
In a week?
Yeah. Like, did it continue growing from there, or was it?
It continued growing, but that was the biggest week I've ever had.
Stayed pretty stable from there.
Yeah. And it stayed stable after that, but it wasn't at like, you know, it wasn't at 10 a week stable, but it went down and it kind of like plateaued, and then I grew it from there. You know what I mean?
How many hours were you putting in when it was just crushing like that? Because I mean, I'm sure you didn't really totally know what you were doing around then.
No, yeah.
You weren't ready for that many orders.
How many hours I put in during that time?
Yeah. Were you just like losing your
I mean,
damn
no,
mind?
I probably put in like 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
So those 7 days.
7 days, yeah. So you were pretty busy.
Yeah, I was busy.
Yeah.
I was busy.
Did you like hit the end of that week and you're like, I can't do this. Like I gotta figure out some way to like automate this, or was it?
That happened.
Like, you're pretty crazy. Like
I would say that happened a few weeks later.
Yeah.
Like a month later, maybe.
Were you just like too much? Like
I knew that at a certain point I would need to do like, you know, get a fulfillment company, because if I keep spending 2 hours a day or even 1 hour a day on this, then, you know, over time, if I took all those hours and put them together, I can do like something way more productive as far as growth for the company, rather than doing like, you know, the day-to-day stuff.
Did you like, so you took that time and you reinvested it after you automated, which I'm sure that's like a long story is how you did that. But did you see like continued growth from what you reinvested your time in? Or was it something that just like, you kind of got it to like a stable point and it just kind of plateaued and like eventually you got bored? Like what happened after that?
What happened after the whole blow up?
Yeah.
And so it went down and plateaued, and then I kept working on it for, I would say, next 6 months or so. Mm-hmm. And then it kind of took a downfall because I got bored with it.
Yeah.
And
was that you or was that the product?
It was more of me, because it just got old after a while, because I would just be focused on money, sales, and all that stuff. And I kind of like got away from maybe bringing more cables on and all that stuff. And I knew that this was okay. This was my first business for this long, and it got me to this point.
So you knew you were successful. I can
exactly.
Do that. Yeah.
And you know, I was like, you know, I want more. Mm-hmm. And so my interest with it kind of dwindled over time, because, you know, I wanted to go bigger. You know what I mean? And so it was able to, you know, maintain and grow for a while, but then it would go down and it would do more of a roller coaster when that happened, when I got away from being so committed to it.
So you saw it do that and you're like, okay.
But my time was reflective of that, because I wasn't putting as much like, you know, intense focus into it as I was before. And I would like do the other half of my time, like, you know, over here or whatever.
So like, I remember it's probably like 3 months ago now, you and I were hanging out at, I think it was at Radio on the South Side. Love that place.
Yeah.
It's great. That's like some straight up like Austin coffee shop. It's like, it's like a barn across to the bar, across to the coffee shop. I love that place. Remember we were talking about, like moving on from doing SuperFly and like feeling like you needed to do something else. Like what did that look like? Like what did you end up pushing towards? Like were there other things that you like said, I need to do this now? Like did you have a plan? Like
as far as like when we talked,
because you were talking about personal branding. You're like, that's what I want to move towards. So like what did you do to start moving towards that?
And so I started working on building up my Instagram following, and then started working on building
like your personal Instagram, like not like your company Instagram.
Yeah, my personal Instagram account, and then also working on my blog website. And so what I did was, as far as steps wise, I first started off building up my Instagram following, and then working on putting, you know, posting pictures that were better. Because
pictures of your product,
pictures of myself, as far as on my personal Instagram account.
Because like, what were you trying to do? Like, because I still don't even totally understand. Like, when you say build out a personal brand, like, what's the goal of that?
So the goal in the simplest form is to get brands to ask me to advertise their products through my personal brand or whatever, you know, via my Instagram, and they give me money for that. So, for example, like a company like mine would send out, say if like Rose Switch, I would send out, you know, a couple cables to you to post on your Instagram account, and I would pay you, you know, $100 for it.
Just because you have a following, people get interested.
Exactly. And so what the goal is to just pretty much have that be a lot greater than what it is now, as far as how many brands ask me to advertise and make an income from that.
Do you think that income like ultimately can be bigger than what you were doing from like Superfly or something?
Yes, for sure.
100%
for sure.
Yeah. Why?
Just because this is something that is more, I would say not passive income, but it can be more sustainable and passive.
Because like the input is a lot smaller. Like the output is way.
The long-term growth and the long-term benefit is way greater than, with the SuperFly cables.
Yeah.
That's because like I'm at 10,000 now, almost 10,000 now. At 100,000, I can bag up and start posting, just once a week. But I'll have brands reaching out to me and I'll just be able to pick from the brands that I want to, advertise for, and they'll pay me, way more, $500 a post then, compared to, like I'm at $70 and $80 now per post.
Who are you getting paid by?
Just brands who reach out to me and want, I reach out to them and I'm like, hey, I think your products will grow. My audience will love your products, and my audience would, become a fan of your brand and help grow your following, as well as, you'll see return on investment from me posting when I post. And so I reach out to them and let them know my rates and what I charge per post. And they, either don't respond, or they're like, yeah, let's do it. What's your address? And then pretty much take it from there. And so I'm just now getting to that point where I'm able to do that.
Talking about personal brand. So you got into personal brand. Why? Like, what made you think that was the direction you wanted to go? Like, why didn't you start into the company?
Because it matched better. Not better, I would say. It matched with where I want to go, as far as like, the legacy that I want to leave. You want
to be like a Tim Ferriss or
I just want to be able to inspire people and to motivate people, and to be able to show them through me, through how I live. And so I knew a personal brand I would build at some point, but I didn't know it would be this early. And so with that being said, it just made sense, as far as if I were only going to do it half the time and do a business, or if I was going to do it full time and do a business. But over time, I learned, okay, this is something I want to do full time. And then everything else, it can come after.
Is it more like you want to help people, or more that you feel the most satisfied when you're giving back like that? What do you think it is?
I feel like number one is I want to show people, that they can do whatever, whatever it is that they're passionate about, that they can do it, and show them my journey of, of doing that, but not in but in my own way, I guess I would say.
What do you mean? Not
through showing them, not necessarily blogging my feelings or taking a picture right now, doing the podcast, but more in a business type of way, and me filling in the blanks and making those connect, as far as what I've been doing to get it to this point or whatever.
Do you think that did you want to do that because the journey was so hard and during your initial come up and you're like, oh man, I made it, now I want to share it? Or was did you always know that you wanted to do something like this where you're teaching people how to be successal?
I always knew that I wanted to be someone who was looked at as, okay, if he can do it, and he for real, if he
this shitheel can do it.
Yeah, if this motherfucker can. No, but I wanted to be able to show people that you can be somebody if you commit to this level or whatever. I always knew that I want to, I guess, quote unquote, be somebody. And so I felt like, it would either be now or later on, when I would just start growing the personal brand and all that. But
how much of what you're doing right now do you think came just from that struggle, though? Because you're talking about because imagine most of what you're actually, let me just ask you this: what are you blogging about? Because you started.
What I'm blogging about, what I'm blogging about is entrepreneurship.
How to do what I did, kind of thing.
Entrepreneurship, things that I learned, lessons that I learned, and how I learned them through storytelling. Yeah. And then also, so that's okay. So that's entrepreneurship, personal development, and men's fashion. And men's fashion is more of me monetizing the blogging and what I want to do with it through working with other companies and, having an income, from it. I can do that more so early on.
So like the passion is like development and teaching people how to do this. The biggest passion, money is coming in from
the biggest passion is definitely entrepreneurship, personal development, and then the business side of the blog is really men's fashion. Yeah. But it's also a big interest of mine. I love men's fashion.
Yeah.
And so
help me out, man. This literally, I literally always just wear a V-neck t-shirt and jeans.
Yeah. Oh, man. It's just something that I knew would be able to make money for the blog and and what I'm doing, but also something I still love, and so it'll still be genuine. You know what I mean?
How did you like develop a strategy to start? Because like your Instagram is all men's fashion, like men's fashion with like so your pictures are men's fashion, your content's like entrepreneurial advice. Usually, am I getting that right? That's
it's like, and so I have two categories right now. I have business and men's fashion, and so it's 50-50.
Okay. How did you like get your strategy? Like you said, okay, I'm going to build to this. I'm going to take this type of picture. I'm going to focus on this kind of thing. I'm going to reach out. Like, how did that come about?
Strategy with monetizing the Instagram?
Yeah, with all of it. Like whether it's Instagram or the blog, like how did you decide this is the path I'm going to take?
First, what I did was I made like a list of the things that I'm most passionate about, just overall, just in life. And entrepreneurship, fashion, and personal development were all on there.
Justin Bieber.
Yeah, right. But yeah, from that list, I like, okay, if it's like 18 or so. Okay, from this list, I would like take like 5 or so and I would rank them. And I would take the other 5 and rank them, and the other 5 and rank them. And I would play like the top 3 from each, group against each other until I got down to like my top 5. And
yeah, but like, how did you come up with your strategy? Like,
the strategy was, so that was when I found like what I want to focus on. And the strategy came from really understanding how you can get advertising dollars or make money from your social media accounts.
How did you learn about that? Like, did you read something, or was it just like?
And like what I do a lot is go on to entrepreneurship.com, and I go on to like inc.com and look at, new best new businesses for entrepreneurs or whatever article. I always stroll through and just looking for, just stuff. So I do in like my leisure time. And so I always knew about it.
Nerd.
Yeah, I know, right? I always knew about it, but I didn't know that it was something I would get into until like later on. And so that's how I found about it. But as far as wanting to focus on it,
was there like any books that you read specifically?
It was
something that like really helped you out?
It was a guy, have you met Dylan before?
Yeah, you told me about Dylan.
Yeah, but his wife is a blogger.
Yeah. Huh? Yeah, she has like hundreds.
Oh yeah, I did
show me her stuff.
And so she's been doing this 2 years now.
Yeah.
And she's at like 85,000 followers.
That's it, just for 2 years. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's slow growth. Yeah,
no. I'm saying like that's a lot. So it's funny though.
That's good. You think that because a lot of people think that in a year I'll be at 100,000.
No, man. Like so, honestly, I was talking to somebody because I have like nothing compared to like these people right now, but I'm pushing at 3,000. Yeah. Like 2 months ago, I was at like 52 people. Like I talked to a couple of my buddies about this, and they're like, "How the hell do you have that many followers?" Because like the average person, 300-400 tops followers on Instagram. Like there's like that ceiling
to be into like before
10,000.
To be into like someone who had like 1,000 followers to me before was
crazy.
A lot.
It was crazy.
I'm like, damn.
Yeah. It's funny because like I remember asking you about this because like when you and I talked about this, I assumed like because I think you were like 6,000 at the time or something like that.
Yeah.
My assumption was like it's got to be just the content. Like you got to be posting different content or tagging people right. I remember you telling me like what you used to get to that. I was like, that's it. That's that simple, right? Like I knew there had to be like a trick,
right?
But people don't realize that. Like there's tools you can use, like because it was Instagram.
Yeah, and before that, I was doing the exact same thing, and that Ben and his wife, they've been doing the whole blog thing for a while, and it took her 2 years, but she makes 6 figures from it solely.
This Dylan's wife.
Dylan's wife.
That's crazy.
She brings in 6 figures. And it took her 2 years to get to that level.
With 80,000 people, just in 2 years. That's crazy.
A 6-figure income, and just the life that they live in, like working on that business.
Yeah,
so much more fun than like
because it's
posting product pictures, online, and working on your email campaign. And so they like get products, and they're paid to like post that on their social media account and blog about it, and then they get like free trips to they got a free cruise not too long ago.
Yeah,
paid for, all meals paid for.
That's crazy.
And they got paid to do it.
And they're a fashion blog, right?
I would say more fashion, I guess, lifestyle blog. Yeah. And recently, the other weekend, this past weekend, they got to stay in, I don't know, some hotel downtown.
Van Zandt or something like that.
I think so.
Yeah, like right off Red River and
Van
Hotel Van Zandt. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just there today.
They got this, really?
Yeah.
You say they're winning?
No, I was there today.
Oh, really?
My friend has an office like right behind it, like the Realty Center.
Yeah, and so they got to stay there like this past weekend. All meals paid for, just like the best room you possibly think of.
Just because they have like
and then they got paid for it.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just because they have a following that's, people here in Austin, that has a focus of Austin, and they got all that stuff and got paid to do it, which is, to me, is crazy.
It doesn't even seem that hard. Like.
It's not.
You got to be consistent.
It's way easier than a business, I promise you.
Yeah.
Than a traditional business is way easier. I feel like going from SuperFly Cables to here, I need to focus on not complicating it so much because it's way simpler.
Well, I remember like you telling me how much you work and like how much you focus on stuff like that. Oh, but it's important to like. I think a lot of people don't think about this. So when somebody thinks about starting a business, or they think about making money or whatever it is, like whether they're working for a corporate job or doing their own thing. You think about like doing the things that people tell you to do. You think about following the rules. You think about like finding holes that you can fill and stuff like that. But a lot of people don't think about like, how do I manage myself?
Yeah.
Right. Like that's like whether you need Adderall, whether you're using it, whether you need coffee, whether you're using it, whether you need to like do yoga, like whatever it is. I think people are not good at managing themselves, like managing their body, managing their mind.
Yeah.
I remember you told me about this a lot. Like, the way that you learn to like harness your energy, it's super important to be able to do that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, do you feel like what lessons have you learned about managing lands?
Yeah, I would say it would definitely be in that ballpark. And
the ballpark
of managing yourself.
Yeah, but like, what did you learn about yourself? Because like you're like a whole different animal, right? Like,
what I learned about myself as far as when it comes to like managing myself and like all that.
Yeah,
it's always been a struggle. That's why it's been so personal development. I feel so important to me because without it, I wouldn't be where I am today. And so.
Because you've always been kind of obsessive, but it's like, how do I like harness that obsession?
Right. You're talking about how do I get better as far as like me growing, getting more done, being more productive and all that, right?
Yeah.
And so reading a lot is what helps me keep my mindset as far as like, keep staying in the mindset, because there's times when you go and you like, you're in play mode, and you're watching TV and just being distracted and just not in like grind mode. And so I read a lot to keep myself in that mindset. And then what got me to the next level is my rituals of in the morning time, planning out my day, but at the nighttime, also reviewing the day. And because I asked myself, like, I have a notebook and I asked myself 3 things. What did I accomplish? What made me uncomfortable? And then what can I improve on?
This is every day.
Every single day. And I miss days. Don't get twisted. I miss days, but I go in and put in all my accomplishments, what made me uncomfortable, because I want to, make myself go further, and I need to be uncomfortable at certain times, and then also what can I improve on? And
where did you learn that from?
Like, I learned that from it was Entrepreneur on Fire podcast.
I love that podcast. Good
one. And so I heard that from a lady, and I've been doing it ever since. It's been like 3 years now, and so I got like a notebook. I went to like my laptop now, but I go in to the date and bam. Type it all out, and then the next morning, and then during that same night, I read something. It doesn't matter if it's for 2 minutes or 20 minutes. It doesn't matter. Just read something.
Like something like
business
stuff, or like you're talking about like reading like fiction.
At night, I read anything I want.
Reading like Pride and Prejudice.
No, I always read personal development books.
Yeah,
I can read that without even having to. I can read that anytime. That's my go-to. And then I plan the day for like, the most important 3 things for the next day. And it takes literally less than 10 minutes to do all that stuff. And I just made a habit of it. And then the next morning I pick up as far as planning. And then I do more in depth of what can be the most impactful for the day, you know, as far as, you know, where I want to go for the week. And so doing that took me to a whole nother level as far as being more productive, getting more done, and seeing the results that I want, accomplishing goals. And but beforehand, I wasn't that committed to that level. And so it was more of a roller coaster ride during that time. But when I started doing this and then also doing other things, and my commitment started growing, like I started becoming way more focused on it. And played a lot less. And as far as seeing the results that I want and developing myself through that, that's when I saw like, okay, I'm seeing what I have to do, and I'm mature about it.
No, I love that you said that, because I think a lot of people get concerned that like going from A to Z, okay, like that's a long way. Like you got what, 25 letters in between A and Z. How many letters in the alphabet?
26.
26. Yeah. 24 letters in between the two of them. Then. See, we're learning. But like people think about that. They're like, okay, A to Z, I got to be able to do all that at once, right? Like I got to go from A to Z. I got to get all 24 letters in between immediately, and that's daunting to people. Like thinking about going from nothing, their corporate drone life, whatever it is, to having a successful business. It's too big, and I got to be able to do all of it at once or nothing. But I love that you're saying like you get up, you have a plan, you have a focus, you do rituals, you have one thing at a time, you grow progressively, because that's what it takes, right? Like you don't go from A to Z, you go from A to B.
It's like a human being born. Like you come in as a baby, and then the more you feed yourself, the more you grow. Seriously, I mean that's all it is.
It is, and it's.
But you're not going to be born a teenager. You know?
For sure. But like, how did you always know that, or like did you learn that along the way? Because that's honestly, to me, I think that's the biggest thing that keeps people from jumping headlong into doing what they want to do. It's like, I can't go to Z right away, and since I can't have Z right away, I can't do anything.
Right. Oh yeah. And so in the beginning, for me, I knew that it would take time. It would probably take more than what I probably knew. But the thing that I was confused about was how much time it would take and how much hard work and commitment it would take.
Because you got to spend your time in the right way.
Right. And so like I would work at it and start doing it or whatever. And I knew that, okay, this isn't as working as well as I thought. And so I would take it up another level. I would commit even more, and then doing something, I learned another lesson, commit even more, and then my commitment level grew and grew and grew with more that I knew that I had to do. Because in the beginning, like my commitment level was here. And then over time, it's just grown and grown and grown because it was necessary to do so.
Because you saw the results, like, and that's the thing. Too.
No, I didn't see it. I'm not talking about I saw results,
but you saw progress.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the biggest thing right there is progress. Because the more you progress, the closer you get. And that's the one thing that I did focus on. And it took me time to learn that. And to answer your question, as far as the time that it took to get to where I want to be, that's what I was confused on. The time it takes to have $1 million in your bank account is a little longer than I originally thought.
But at the same time, it's also not. And that's what's so crazy. Like, so you have to be able to say, this goal is far out. I'm going to have to sit. I'm going to have to hustle. I'm going to have to grind. You have to be able to say that on one side. Then you also have to say the steps to success along the way are a lot more accessible than they feel like.
Yes, for sure. As far as the I guess having the resources and having the ability and all that stuff that comes along to making it happen, I always knew was there. But as far as how long it would take and me saying like not dismissing that it may take 3 years from now or maybe even 1 year from now, maybe something big happens. Knowing that is a possibility, but being practical about it and being conservative as far as my expectations. I know that I have to think of a person that's in this for 20 years. That's in this for, down to do the same lifestyle right here, right now for 10 years, knowing that it will work. And so that is what I learned as far as where I was when I was 23 and 27.
Do you find that like most of the time when you're working on something, you're thinking about the long term, or you usually like getting excited about like the small successes on the way?
When I like don't feel like doing something or get discouraged, I remind myself of the long term and what I'm doing it for. And then I work backwards and like, okay, I do like, the ultimate goal, then do the 10-year goal, then the 5-year goal, then do the 1-year goal, and then 6-month, 3-month, and then back it up all the way until like today. And then I chop it up into small goals and lay it out over my, my planner, my calendar, my schedule of where I want to accomplish these and when I want to do them. And so
you can have those small successes on the way.
Right. But know what I'm doing it for.
Yeah.
And seeing the end result of it. And so that's what stops me from thinking about, oh man, gotta do this shit. But okay, this is going to get me right there.
Yeah.
And so it reminds me of that. And so that, like, helps me when I can't think of it.
You know what that reminds me of? So do you know any like really good painters? Like people that are like just like crazy good artists?
Like right now?
Yeah.
Banksy?
Who's Banksy?
Banksy is
okay, Banksy.
Banksy.
Yeah. I don't know.
You know that? Yeah. That's the one that's one I like the most right now. But I'm not heavy in the game.
Yeah.
I'm not heavy in the game at all.
So here's what I'm thinking about. So like whenever you see like a crazy painting, so think about like the Sistine Chapel, for example, right? Like just huge, ornate, like all these tiny little details. Whenever I see something like that, I'm like, God damn, like how do you keep that in your mind clearly enough that you know that like every little brush stroke that you're making will eventually like come together and make this huge crazy thing that's like 1,000 times bigger than you. And that's what that reminds me of, right? Like you don't think about you don't think about the whole thing at once. You think about, okay, here's the whole thing, zoom in a little bit. Now I'm working on like the hand. Here's what the hand looks like.
Fingernail.
Yeah, fingernail all the time. Like you don't paint the whole thing all at once. You're painting fingernails.
Right. It's steps to it.
Yeah.
You can't be 20,000 people and be up there on that ceiling, but you can be one person and do it. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, it's for my success. I feel like me continuing to get better at killing what's ever in front of me. Like if I'm a painter, killing that fingernail on Sistine Chapel, then it's going to be a wrap. If I can focus on that, kill it, and then move quickly to the next thing, kill it, and then move quickly to the next thing and kill it, and get better at doing more of that within my days, it's only a matter of time. It's not about when anymore. It's only a matter of time.
Dude, so
that's what gets me like excited.
You're eventually going to hit it.
Yeah, it's going to come. It just like it comes down to how hard I work right now.
You told me something a while back. Actually, I don't even know. It was something you told me. It might have been something I noticed. You are always so positive and like so committed to and invested in and convinced of your ability to succeed. Like every time I talk to you, like, I don't think I've ever heard you say something negative about yourself. So here's what I'm wondering, right? Like, so like I'm studied psychology in college, like child of psychologist. I'm always like thinking about things like imposter syndrome, right? Like usually, a lot of times, do you know what that is? Imposter syndrome?
No, I don't.
So a lot of times people that are like really high functioning or really critical on themselves work really hard until they get to a point where like the way that people see them or like the assumptions that people make about their abilities are way far above and beyond like what they think of themselves. So like, oh shit, like I'm a CEO now. I don't know how to be a CEO. Like I just bullshitted my way into this by being smart. Right. Like eventually somebody's going to figure out that I'm not smart enough to be in this position and then I'm going to disappoint them. Right. So like that's something that happens. Like we just do that, especially as like very high functioning, like intelligent, hardworking people like yourself. So what I wonder, and this is going to get real for you, when you talk about your like, I can do this, like I can always achieve more. I can always strive for more. I can always do this. Like I'm capable of this. Do you think that you always actually feel like that? Or do you ever hit positions or points in time where you're like, man, I'm lying to myself. Like I'm really not good at this, but I'm going to keep thinking it because thinking it's what I need to do. And that's going to pull me through. Like, does that ever happen? Like, do you ever feel like you're lying to yourself when you say I can do this, or you always feel like I can do this?
For me, I never have felt like I'm bullshitting myself as far as like what I believe I can do because I'm very religious. And so
what do you mean?
I'm very religious in the sense that I believe in what the Bible says for me and what it promises. And so when I was a kid, there were a few verses that stood out to me that like I pretty much grew that foundation on in my confidence to believe in where I'm going and not be like, okay, am I lying to myself? Am I being real with myself? Can I really do this? I don't say that because of the foundation. Although I'm not saying that it doesn't never cross my mind because it does. I'm human. I think of negative things just the same as everyone else. But me having like building that foundation from, like, for example, those verses as like when I was young, like grew over time and more my faith in the, like, I guess all the principles and the verses and stuff that mean a lot to me as far as the belief in myself had a lot to do with that confidence. And so, for example,
so like, what do you mean? Like, so give me an example, like a promise.
Right. And so, 2 Chronicles 15:7.
Two Chronicles, Donald Trump.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, 2 Chronicles 15:7. I'm pretty sure it's Chronicles. I don't think it's either Chronicles or Corinthians.
Oh, now we are getting into Donald Trump. 2 Corinthians.
Yeah. Second.
Go. Sorry.
Second Corinthians or second. I think it's 2 Chronicles.
It's not important.
2 Chronicles 15:7.
I'm gonna look it up.
It's be strong and do not give up, for your hard work shall be rewarded.
Okay.
And so that was one of the first verses that really stuck with me in high school, as far as like work ethic wise.
You had it right. Chronicles, 2 Chronicles 15:7. But as for you, be strong and do not give up, for your work will be rewarded.
Yeah. And then the other one was Luke 1:37.
I'm impressed you know the references, man. I have a degree in theology, and I can never tell you like where a verse is from.
Really?
I can probably quote, at least used to be able to quote most of the Bible. They're like, it's in there somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know where it came from.
But I mean, I don't know a lot myself either. But like these few, like I know.
What was the other one? Luke what?
Luke 1:37, and then this one is like it says, "For with God nothing is impossible."
So here's what's crazy about this, because I totally so you're saying like what pulls you through this. And you were right about that reference to 137.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is like part of what pulls you through this, like when you work super hard, is believing, like truly believing that there's a promise from God who's beyond you that like if you do this, you will be successful. Like
exactly.
This will happen, whatever that success looks like. So here's what gets me about something like that. What do you think? Like, because what you told me earlier is you're committed and passionate about taking your lessons, like what you've learned in your entrepreneurial journey, and you're committed to taking that and applying it to other people, like teaching other people how to be successful. Do you think that somebody that doesn't believe that, like let's say you're talking to an atheist, like somebody doesn't believe in God at all, like they're just working for themselves, whatever. Do you think that somebody who doesn't believe what you believe can also benefit from those promises, or are they like not able to get that same sort of like fulfillment and push?
No, that they will benefit from those promises, but as far as when it comes to knowing so or knowing that they will within themselves is something that they will be missing. And that's a big factor because
that's like a motivating factor, not so much as it's not like it's like a condition of being successful. It's like a benefit.
You don't have to like be really religious to be successful, but it helps so much. It's ridiculous. It's if I can tell anyone like what to do first and where to come from as far as your foundation. Christianity is something that I would always let them know of. Not really suggesting, but let them know like this is what helps me the most. And this is, it helps a lot of other people. They speak on that as far as entrepreneurship, speak on that as well. And that is just all about you knowing who you are, you knowing where you come from,
it's like
and you know what you can do.
Yeah, no, that's true.
And so it'll be a lot tougher without it. You know what I mean?
Do you think that like, well, let's call it like an extracurricular boost, right? Like something that's outside the regular rewards of like being a successful entrepreneur. Do you think that sense of purpose and like direction, can you get that equally from something else, like something other than religion? Or do you think that like, if you don't have a belief in like a God or something beyond that's like pouring into your life and pushing you forward, you're missing out on something no matter what?
Yeah, I've definitely believed that you are missing out on something. Because it's an area of yourself that isn't fulfilled. It's like, fitness, finances, or relationships. If one of those are missing, and spirituality, and if one of those are missing, even if you do have a substitute for it, in spirituality and religion and all that, it will not be as impactful as it would be like, with the religion that I have with, I feel, Christianity. And it's just,
what do you think about like let's say like a Muslim person, right? Like somebody that believes that like Allah is like all there is, and like you can't, like this is beyond you, and this is what compels you forward. It's a totally different story than what you have with Christianity. Do you think they can get the same sort of sense of like a fulfillment that you're talking about? Like from that belief?
It's hard to say from being a Christian what other religions, like how fulfilled they would be, because I've never practiced in those.
Sure.
But as far as when it comes to the development of that person and it being on a scale towards Christianity and religion and all that, it definitely can be, but it's strictly based on the principles and the teachings that and within that religion. And so if, you know,
that's a good point.
Yeah, Buddhism, if it's like, you know, something that is able to give you what you need, pretty much, I mean, simplest form, then yes, of course.
So it's what works.
Right.
No, that's a really interesting point. I think that's helpful because a lot of people, especially like people that I hang out with, when they think of Christianity, right, or really any religion, they think of people that are saying, okay, this is the only thing that's true. Like this is the only way to be satisfied. Like you can only be satisfied and have this pull through Jesus or through Muhammad or whatever it is. And it's interesting to hear you say you just need to have something that pulls you beyond yourself.
Right.
Like you need to have something that pushes you towards like greater morality, that pushes you towards hard work, that pushes you towards that sort of fulfillment.
Just give you the right principles to be that person.
Yeah. No, I like that. And I agree with you, man. Like there's something about being human that you're missing if you don't have something that pulls you beyond yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. If you're not, I mean, it's just like having, you know, the blueprint to life is what I see the Bible as. Like my blueprint to life, and knowing that it's proven and it works, you know, I would be so much better if I were to, you know, engulf myself in that and let that make me better.
You gotta have a path. You gotta have something to follow.
Right.
Yeah. Do you like, I apologize. I haven't read most of your new blog stuff because I didn't know it was up yet.
It don't matter.
You were hiding it for forever. You were like,
I didn't even launch it until like a few months ago.
I know. Because remember we talked about it like 6 months ago, and you're so funny because you're totally different than me. Like I'm like, whatever, I'm just going to put it out there and like eventually it'll work. You're like super calculated, which is funny. But do you spend like much time in your blog calling people to something like what you're talking about, like calling people beyond themselves? Like, hey guys, here's the hustle. Here's how to do it. But really, you're not going to be fulfilled unless you find a narrative like what you have with Christianity. Do you spend much time talking about stuff like that? Or
not yet. Yeah. Not yet, because right now I want to focus on the foundation of my blog, which is, number one, getting up content that is in the direction I want to go.
Yeah.
And then once I, you know, master these two, like business and men's fashion, and I'm working on now, I would branch out.
What's your blog address? I'm gonna pull it up right now.
It's thelancejohnson.com.
Look at you, the Lance Johnson.
And the only reason
how'd you get that?
No, the reason I have it is because lancejohnson.com was taken. So the number two option was thelancejohnson.com.
What jerk has lancejohnson.com?
This baseball player used to play for White Sox.
Yeah, get it from him.
Yeah.
You know what you got to do? You got to watch the Who Is database. See what the expiration date is.
I'm not spending that much money right now, though.
How much is it?
It's the last time I checked with them was last year, like in the summer, and it was over 10,000.
What?
Yeah. Because so many.
Max Johnson, look at that! Look at that jacket he's got on. It's the same jeans you're wearing right now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You see them?
I think they are.
Oh yeah, they are.
These Johnson Murphy boots you got going on.
Yeah.
It's hot.
Fire. Liquid fire.
I like this. What's the response been so far from like sponsors and stuff since you put up your blog?
For the blog, I've been able to get more responses as far as people I reach out to, like brands that I want to collab with. It's just makes me like official, as far as when I want to like reach out to brands and get them come back to me.
Here's my blog and stuff.
It's been, as far as response rate, I've gotten so many more responses.
Really?
Yeah.
So you, like, what are you sending out to people usually when you're asking for something? Like, are you like,
I'm letting them know that I have a blog and a social following, and then that I would love to collab, and this is like my rates, and this is what I can do for you pretty much. So I tell them like I can give you a couple Instagram posts, and I can write a blog about you for $80.
How often do you send these out? Like,
and so I've been trying to get more consistent about it, and so what I try to do as far as like 2 weeks ago is send out at least 10 a day to 10 new brands.
That's it. So how many sponsors do you have right now?
Responses?
No, sponsors. Like, how many people do you have that are actually like actively paying you or like giving you stuff to wear?
I've had 5 so far.
Okay.
And so this is as of the past, I would say mid-December, and so a month. And so I've been able to get 5, and that's honestly, I mean, I haven't been putting a lot of work into it at all. You know what I mean? So that's something I've been waiting on, which I don't think I should have, knowing what I know now.
That is what it is.
Yeah, and it gives you something to work towards. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Dude, so one of the craziest things, so I remember thinking about this. This, like, for me, this was what convinced me that, like, I want to be my own boss. Like, I want to do my own things. I always want to be, like, in control of my own financial future. It was when I was reading, like, Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Workweek, which is, like, it's like the Bible of, like, entrepreneurship, or, like, what gets most people into it. It's, it's a good comparison. It's like a gas station cappuccino, right? Like, you want to start drinking coffee. You don't start with coffee, or you're going to hate it.
Right.
Like, you got to drink like the super sugary gas station cappuccino, and then you get into the hard stuff.
Oh yeah.
That's what that book is like. Like, everybody's like, oh, I can leave my job. Awesome. Now let me learn other stuff. But I remember reading that book when he's talking about like the deferred life plan, right? Like, everybody has this idea that, on weekends that I hang out, I have fun on weekends, I kill myself during the week, and then eventually I will retire, and like every now and then I take a vacation. But I remember like the allure and like the appeal of that moment of realizing, oh, you can have fun before then. Like, you can build your life in such a way that like you can enjoy stuff all the time. Oh yeah. And that, to me, and I'm sure it is to you, like, to me, that's the appeal of doing stuff like this. Like, that's the appeal of staying up till 4 o'clock in the morning, working on whatever it is. Like, that's what you're doing. It's to try to enjoy life now instead of enjoying life in 60 years when you're 80 years old and like don't want to enjoy life.
Right. And to enjoy life at that level that you would be at that time, but earlier.
Now. Yeah.
Even though that you will have more money than you have now then. But
hopefully.
Oh man.
You will. Yeah. I will.
Yeah, but anybody in their 20s, hopefully you will. Yeah. If you're in your 20s, most likely you will. Yeah. But man, having to have like a piece of that life like now would be like ideal. But knowing that it will take the work, and so you're not gonna get it at once, but
you can, and that's what people don't realize.
You can, but
because I know what you're gonna say. Like, you're gonna say it takes a lot of work. You gotta put your nose at the grindstone. But like, it's not nearly as hard to have what you want as people think it is.
But what you have is always going to be progressive if you're going for sure. And so that's why I see mine is like, I'm always going to like be like, having more and more and more and more and accomplishing more and all that. And so knowing that it's going to get better and all that stuff. I may drop and fall and stuff, but I'm eventually going to get better. Yeah. It's just encourage me to work more, because I actually like to work.
Yeah, I think honestly, I think everybody does. And I mean that sincerely. Like, are you familiar with the philosopher and the author Ayn Rand? Sure, like The Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged. It's pretty famous.
I feel like I heard it before.
Okay. So one of her like core, she was kind of crazy. Like, she was, some of her stuff is just off the wall. But one of the core tenets of her philosophy was, what makes man, like what makes him satisfied and gives value to his life, is creating things. It's working super hard to use his hands, to use his mind, to bring value into the world. And if you're not doing that, you're always going to be dissatisfied, no matter who you are. Like, the entrepreneurial gene, like that drive that you have that makes you who you are, that seems unique, and it seems like something that not everybody has. And it's easy for somebody who doesn't have that bent naturally to say, oh, that's for him. That's for Lance. Like, that's not for me. But really, like, what you're doing, like what pulls you forward, that's just human. Like that's something that we all crave. Like it's going to look different for everybody, but we all want to make
different levels.
Yeah. Or not even different levels, but like different ways, like different, there's like a different skin on it for everybody. But I really think like everybody wants that. And I think some people think they don't because they're just spending their energy and their time on things they don't enjoy.
Yeah. I mean, I think that a lot of people don't know that they can to even pursue it in the first place.
For sure.
So I think that's number one, that not even knowing that they have that potential in them to even have it be a conscious thought, thinking, okay, can I, you know, or even to make goals about it. You know what I mean? And so that, I think that's the number one step that knocks off a lot of people. No, not make goals, but to believe that you can. I think is something that is what's number one when it comes to people not even pursuing their dreams.
Yeah.
And I'm talking not just in business, but in anything.
Anything, totally.
Just your belief in yourself. I think that kills like at least, I mean, more than half of everyone.
You don't got me, and this is crazy because you're totally right. Anybody can do it. Like anybody can say, this is what I want and go get it. Like life's going to kick you in the dick. Like it just does.
Like, yeah, it's life though.
You get up, you keep going. Yeah. Like if you keep doing that consistently, you're going to make progress. Like you're going to get eventually to what you want. And I sincerely mean that. And I think you do too. Yeah. I think what got me though is realizing like how many just stupid people were crazy rich, like just because they worked hard, right? Like you watch YouTube videos of guys like, this is my Lamborghini. You probably can't even spell Lamborghini. Like that are just, that they don't have like all that much talent. They don't have all that much like compelling interest, but they just do the right things. They bust their ass, like hit their head against the wall enough times until they get to where they should be. And then they have what they want.
Yeah.
And that's honestly, I think that's all that it takes. Like, do you think there's more to it than that? Or is that?
No, I don't think at all. I think it's strictly upon your capacity to do so. And when I say capacity to do so, I'm talking about your ability and
your personal ability.
I mean, like, are you like mentally retarded, or are you like, you know, intelligent? And most people, and that, and to tell you the truth, that doesn't really matter because most people aren't mentally retarded. Most people like know how to read and know how to write. And if you know how to read and know how to write, then it's all dependent upon the work you put in. Because what people who think think that they're dumb, what they do in the beginning is they think that, okay, I'm not smart and so I can't get it. Not knowing that if they put in work towards
they will get it
whatever it is, then they'll become smarter and they'll be able to comprehend better, be able to, you know, just be more resourceful and all that stuff to where they're even perceived as smart. Because people,
a lot of it's just confidence.
Being smart is subjective in its own, and so it'll build them to the person or the ability to make them go, you know, further. Even if they didn't believe in, you know, in the beginning. And so if they knew that, then it will, I mean, their world would open up. Just knowing that you can do it and you have the ability and you're capable of doing that. I mean, after that, it's just all about doing it. Just do it. You have to believe, you know.
Whatever it is. Like people assume like it is something specific.
Right. I mean, it's just believe that you can accomplish that. And that it's only information that you're missing and it's time to work.
I should say
multiply by each other.
So a lot of times when people say stuff like that, it's really easy to say, here's a life plan, follow it, seems great, sounds great, whatever, but it doesn't work for me. But I can honestly say for you, like, these are things that you've learned the hard way, but you've learned them along the path to success. Like I look at you, you're not as successful as you want to be, obviously, because you're never going to be, because that's what makes you successful, that you're never satisfied. But I look at what you're doing and I can genuinely say like your work with SuperFly Cables was successful. Like you were making good money doing that. And it wasn't complicated at all.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. And I had a belief that you had to be smart beforehand to do certain things. And then I learned what smart was.
What's the difference? What do you think smart is?
Before, my belief before was I thought that people who were smart were like, you know, born that way. And then I found out later on that people who I consider smart, even so, may not have been born that way, but more importantly, they worked to be.
They made themselves that way. Yeah.
And so me learning that taught me a big lesson in that, okay, this can be taught. This isn't a talent. This can be taught. And so like knowing that, that's why I say like the most important thing is like your work ethic and how hard and, you know, how your focus is on your work, you know, and getting better at that. I mean, that is definitely number one, because everything else will take care of itself within that time period, you know, of when you can accomplish that level, whatever. But
well, and so to that too, because we mentioned earlier, like people get concerned about moving from A to Z too quickly. So like when you say like your work ethic, working towards what you need to do, I think it's important to say too, like, it's not a matter of doing everything you can, like everything that you want to do necessarily to get from A to Z. It's like, do what you can, like figure out what steps you can take and then just fucking do them.
Right. Oh yeah. And to get better, having that as a focus while doing that. I mean, is yeah, I'm gonna burp and stuff.
But it's just pour this all in. Drowning in Founders Ale right now. By the way, Founders Brewing, good stuff.
Yeah, it is. I like it, man. It's good.
I've never actually had this before.
Really?
An all-day IPA.
Oh yeah.
It was in a 15-pack. I wasn't about to not buy it.
Oh really? I've never seen a 15-pack of IPAs ever in my life.
It's good.
Yeah, it is. But what were we talking about?
Founders IPA.
Yeah,
Founders IPA. We're talking about like doing what you can, like figuring out what it is that you need to do, and then deciding, okay, what can I do to get there?
Right. Oh yeah. And what I focus on, just progress. Just making progress and getting better.
Whatever progress is, like just some
progress in like with myself, with every like my skills and you know the direction I want to go, just progressing towards that in whatever way I possibly can.
It's so interesting. Like people assume that progress looks like one specific thing, right? Like we say like, oh, let's pick an example out of thin air, like Mark Zuckerberg, right? Super rich, created Facebook, like did this trajectory, this path towards who he is now, multi-billionaire. So people assume progress has to look like that. And I think that's a big part of why people say that's not for me. Like I can't do specifically what he did.
Right.
What's interesting and fascinating to me is that, and I think you'd agree with this, that progress isn't defined by what somebody else did or could do. It's defined by what you can do.
Right.
That's one of the reasons, like I love yoga, for example, because it consistently focuses on what's your threshold, like how far can you personally go. And it's like a hard class, like what I typically do, like with Bikram yoga or hot yoga. People think like, fuck, I can't do that. Like I can't do all these postures, but that's not what it's about. It's about listening to your body, like figuring out where you're at now, where your limits are now, hitting those limits, sitting in them, and then pushing just a little bit past what you personally can do over time until eventually you're like, whoa, shit, like this is what like all the crazy people that were doing like back bends, like pulling their head over, arm over their head, and like their foot over and like tying themselves in a pretzel. Now I can do that. And you hit those points and you're like, well, you know, a year ago I couldn't touch my toes.
Right.
And honestly, like that's what it's about. It's not about being Mark Zuckerberg. It's not about being Tony Hsieh or Mark Cuban or whatever. It's about being like the best version of Lance Johnson.
Yeah, the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
And running your own race. And it reminds me of like, you know, the horse races, they put the blinders on each side so they can't see the other horses and they're just able to focus on the track. I feel like it's the same way, like, you know, you should have the same vision for yourself in life, like the blinders to the left and right of your eyes.
Yeah.
So you just see straight ahead in what you're doing. Because
all you have. Like
because all you have is yourself and you're never going to be someone else.
Yeah.
Ever going to be someone else. You're always going to be you.
And that's where people get fucked up. They're like, I want to be XYZ.
That's why you shouldn't compare yourself to anyone.
Yeah.
You should compare yourself to the person you were yesterday. And then just take it from there without criticizing yourself and being so hard on yourself, but focus on progressing yourself.
Do you ever feel like even when you're comparing yourself to yourself, like when you're like, this is where I need to be, do you ever get just like super discouraged with where you're at?
Yeah.
What do you usually do with that?
So it's, so what happens for me is that I look at myself, who I was before or who I was in the past, or whatever, and I feel like I should be further. And what I do is,
so like, what the hell? Like, I should be way further.
I should be way further than where I am right now.
Okay.
And maybe because I haven't worked hard enough or whatever it may be, like there's things that I can point out I can get better in, and that, you know, if I were to focus on these areas, I would be so much better. But I just haven't done it yet.
Do you always feel like that though? Because I feel like
I don't always feel like I'm not always in that mindset of I should be so much further than I am right now, but I do know I should be further if I were to did things, you know, different or whatever. Yeah. But I feel it would be foolish of me to be thinking about that because it's not helping me to go forward. And so I try to limit it as much as possible. But knowing of it and using it to make me go further as far as like, okay, let me change this habit. Let me change this about myself. Let me read more about this. Let me educate myself more about this, or let me work harder on this task to give me the results I want, you know? And that, I mean, that with that being said, that's why I feel like at the end of the day and all that stuff, it's so important to like analyze yourself over the past day, or even if you do it like 1 month or 1 week, you know, every week, to just like go over what you did this past week.
Yeah.
What mistakes you made, and did you accomplish your goals, and why not, or why do you accomplish those goals? If you do that every single week, then imagine where you would be like 5 years from now if you do that every single week. Not even every single day, but every single week.
People, like, our culture just doesn't do that. Like, we never stop and evaluate. Ever. It's crazy.
Yeah, and it gives you a false sense of where you are, false sense of reality, and you're delusional.
Or no sense. Like, honestly, to me, like, that seems like the bigger problem. Like, if I, like, an average day, like, let's think like a normal person. I wake up in the morning, I check my Facebook, I get on Instagram, whatever. I go to my job. I sit in my drone mode all day. I get home, I'm exhausted. I watch Netflix and I pass out. I do it again. Like, people don't stop and reflect and think. And that, honestly,
they do, but it's not in the way that they should to really analyze, like, not themselves productively, to make them, you know, to get the information they need to go further. So like
they start, most people, they're just disappointed. Like they just stop and they're like, that's as far as it goes. They're like, I'm not where I want to be. I'm disappointed. Whatever.
And they still think about it in their heads.
Yeah.
They think about it in their heads, and they never, the difference is they never write it down or make a plan or do anything with it. It's just marbles bounce around in the head.
And it just ends up being exhausting instead of productive.
It ends up being something that they forget. You know, you eventually you forget how you fucked up on, you know, March 11th of 2015.
Right.
But if you have something you can look back on and see how you fucked up and what you say you were going to improve on, then it's tangible, and it's something information that can help you go further. That is information about you, which is not ever, you know, really documented.
So anyway, so like you're saying, like, to journal it, like write down what you're thinking or whatever, however you're going to keep track of it, and then like look at it.
To make a habit of writing down the things that you've done, where you want to be, and how you know fucked up on that in that time period.
But I think a lot of people do that. Like a lot of people journal. So that's like a thing.
I don't think a lot of people journal at all.
Probably not as many as should.
You're talking about journal as far as like writing.
Well, so here's what I'm saying. So like I think like in terms of like the scope of people as a whole, I think there's like a fair amount of people that journal. But even in journaling, I know this is true of me in the past, like I'll journal, but I never go back and like look at it and like think about it and like rehash where I was. Like I just put it down and that's it. Like I forget about it.
Yeah.
So you're saying like write it down and then revisit it.
Yeah, write it down, and if you're doing your, like, you know, 1 year goal, look over the past year and flip through, you know, all the things that you said you would get better on, or all the things that you made mistakes on, and look for patterns, because you'll see, like, for myself, I saw like patterns. Okay, I did this on Mondays, Tuesdays did that, and then, you know, I would fall off for Thursday, come back on Friday, you know.
So now I can fix it.
Right. And so knowing my pattern, I'm looking for Tuesday to come up, you know, when I fall off. And so knowing that, I mean, I can be more strategic in my success as far as when it comes to my habits and my day-to-day and what I do. And that's extremely powerful, because if you don't know,
what are you going to do?
Yeah, I mean, it's like making a plan to get better every single day, but not doing anything about it. And so if you're making a plan every single day, you're not going back and looking at that plan, then that day is not going to be any different from the other days before. But if you go back and look at those plans, look at all those things you said, talked about and say you want to improve on, then your progression, your awareness will grow, and you'll be looking for ways to improve because you're always working on it.
So when I listen to you talk about stuff like this, I'm thinking about like somebody on the outside who's maybe not ever tried like anything entrepreneurial, or like maybe like just feels lost and like doesn't know how to move forward. And I hear like the body of Lance Johnson, like talking about all the things you've learned, like because you have lessons on lessons on lessons, right? Like
lessons on lessons.
Yeah, on lessons on lessons on lessons. Like when I think about somebody who's not there, who's like, how do I just pull myself up my fucking bootstraps and get what I want, right? Like how do I build the life that I'm looking for? And I hear all the stuff you're talking about. I'm wondering if I'm thinking, shit, that's a lot of stuff. I can't do all that. Like because you really can't, right? Like because you're like, let's say you're not at Z, like you're like maybe Q, right? Like
I'm not even at Q yet.
You're not at Q. You're at M.
Yeah, I'm probably E.
You're chilling at E.
Yeah,
but you're on the way, and like somebody who's over here at A, who's like, God, I want to start moving towards this. They can't take all those things at once because it feels super overwhelming. Like all these lessons about journaling or about setting goals.
I mean, they never will though. But keep them on.
But eventually they'll be over it at Z with you, and you'll be at Z part 4 because you'll be a multi-billionaire.
But I'm not at Z. I'm okay. A, B, C.
26.
So say I'm really at E right now.
Yeah, whatever it is.
All I know is A, B, C, D, and E, and that's my reference.
Yep.
And my whole goal is to get to, is it A, B, C, D,
E, F. You got F.
And so I'm just trying to get to F right now. But before I get to F,
because
I have to learn E.
Yes, because you know that the only way to get to Z is F and G and H.
Right. There's steps, and you can't skip steps.
So for somebody that's at A, okay, if they're listening to everything that you're saying, what's the one thing, the most important thing that they can do to start moving forward?
They can focus, I would say number one, just like off of what we're talking about, focus on A. And so for me in the beginning, it was building my knowledge to know the right direction to go in. And so I feel like the letter A is strictly building your knowledge, building your foundation base of your end goal, wherever it is, and knowing the most you can about it to take that first step.
To learn as much as you can about
to have the knowledge to be successful, going to be. Just not to see it, but just over to be. And then taking it from there. Then at B, maybe it's, continuing your knowledge and learning as much as you possibly can. And then writing down maybe ideas. Or, starting on a business plan, starting just a product, or what direction you want to go in. So that may be B. But taking it step by step, but focusing on, it's something I focus on now still, is knowledge. I focus on giving myself the right knowledge, but it's so important.
No, I love what you said. So the right knowledge, right?
Exactly.
Because if I'm at A and I'm thinking about where I want to be eventually, it's so easy to just get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Right, to say like, oh, let's learn about A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, like all the way down the road. And what you're saying, I think, and I agree with this, is that you don't need to focus on all of those subsequent steps necessarily. You just need to understand like how A turns into B, and how B turns into C, and that's about it.
Yeah, I got a good example for you.
Yeah.
Like later on down the road, I eventually want to get into real estate and like investing in real estate. But what does it help me right now to sit down for a few hours and learn about real estate investing?
Yeah.
When I have to have money to invest in real estate. And so me working on my business over here and what I'm doing right now will get me to that point. And so me putting my all into, building my personal brand and all that, and working on gaining as much knowledge about that is way more productive than learning about real estate investing right now.
Yeah.
Even though I want to do it later on, it's not as important as this right here.
I have a hard time with that. Me
too. I mean, it's something that you'll get better at.
Yeah.
But you have to feed it because it's in your vision, and you have to remind yourself of the path that you're on and feed it at the same time. But it's just all about getting past your feelings. And I feel like, I want to talk, read about, these houses that are selling for $1 million. No, damn well I can't buy it right now. But you knowing that and just looking at them, just feeds that your mind like, okay, this is inside. This is where I'm going. And that's another thing that I do, like when I'm feeling like, okay, why am I doing this? And I pull up the house I want. I pull up the car that I want. I remind myself of where I'm going.
What people call that, like dreamlining, right? Like
it's almost like a vision board.
Yeah.
A moving vision board. Yeah. You just look it up when you want it.
Huh. I remember where you're going. Yeah.
I mean, it's my life. That's something that I've worked on not doing so much.
Because why?
Because in the beginning I did it a lot.
Yeah.
I would be looking at real estate investing, something that had shit to do with what I'm doing now, but it made me feel good because I knew that I would want to get there one day.
Yeah.
And so like now I'm a lot better at controlling, that time when I am just like dreaming pretty much rather than doing.
Yep.
So
it's like I mean, you mentioned earlier that like you were really focused on basketball, like in high school, middle school, high school, and college, and all that kind of stuff. Like, and if you're talking about basketball, like you're trying to teach somebody how to shoot a free throw, for example, right? Like you don't start with, well, what you need to do is you need to make the ball go through the hoop. Like that's not what you teach people. Like you teach them, okay, you got to slow down, you got to focus, you got to keep your elbows in, you got to follow through. Like you got to do all these individual like little pieces that each have like their own learning. You got
to set the foundation.
Yeah, you got to set the foundation. And if you try and focus on ball through the hole, you're going to fuck up every time. Right? Your elbow's going to be out here, you're going to be thrown to the left, like whatever it is. You got to know those individual pieces. And I think you're totally right. I think that's what it takes. And that's what people miss a lot of times. And I'll say myself too, like we miss that there are individual, small, attainable steps on the way to shooting a free throw, buying $1 million house, whatever it is.
Because I mean, for me, like I've learned just from myself that I will always want it. I will always be impatient and feel that I'm impatient. But it's just knowing the value of the process, knowing that trusting in it. It what makes me feel good. You know what I mean? It's just knowing that it will work and knowing that eventually it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Just to be patient, but it's so hard.
Well, and so not only do you need to do that to be successful, but like when you do that, you can find joy in those steps, right? Like who, honestly, and this, you're probably gonna laugh at this, but like who gives a fuck if you ever make it to that? Or like the process of like getting there, that's what's satisfying, right?
Right, because I mean, it's just like getting a new pair of shoes or getting a new car. You're so excited for a small period,
like a week.
Yeah, exactly. And then you go back to like, okay, what's next?
Yep.
What's next? And that's just, for me, that's just proof. And I want to be wise. And so I'll be foolish to even think that, okay, once I get $1 million house, I'll be good. Once I get a Maserati or a Bugatti or whatever it is, I'll be good. I know that it will be a time to where I feel like it's just a car, like, it's just my car.
But that's what being human is, right? Was it C.S. Lewis, I think, that said, I was reading this last night, that said, if I have desires in my heart that nothing in this world can fill, that's proof that like I'm not of this world. Like I'm pulled to something like beyond myself. And like that's just like part of the human process. Like we're always pushing towards something.
Right. And I like what a preacher says, his name's T.D. Jakes. He said that when you reach success, it won't feel like success. And I feel like that's been proof in my life.
Like, what do you mean by that? Like,
he means that once you reach the success that you, like, say once you're a millionaire, it won't feel like you think it will feel. When I think of a millionaire, I think of someone who's just like, living a great life. It's just so lavish.
Like diving
not a lot of
diving into the coins.
Yeah, not a lot of problems. It's just easy going. But in reality, probably be just as many problems as your success has progressed. And so like your business has grown so much more.
So your problems
will grow
exponentially bigger.
And an equivalent to that.
Yep.
And so like for me, when I had the success early on with SuperFly Cables, it didn't feel like the success that I thought. It didn't feel like $10,000 in 1 week.
Yeah.
It felt like, okay, I reached this point, and then it felt like work again. And it was quick. It was real quick. And so just knowing that, I was like, man, I used to think about this just 6 months ago. Yeah. And it being here right now, it doesn't feel like that. It just means that I have more responsibilities. I have to, re-up on my inventory. I have to manage, more customers. I have to make sure shipping's good. I have to manage my finances even more because I'm spending more on inventory and all this advertising and stuff. And
it's just more complicated.
It was more stuff that came with it that leveled it out. And so, I mean, even right now for myself, I'm at 10,000 followers on Instagram, and I'm getting 10,000.
Did you hit 10,000? You got it?
I mean, I'll be there in the next week and a half.
There you go.
And so I'm at 9,000 with 9,250 or whatever.
That's sick, though.
But the way I feel right now and the business that I'm getting from it in this early stage, it won't feel so much better when I'm working and doing things at 100,000. But it will be better, but it won't be as glorious as I make it seem in my head. And everyone does that. You think that $1 million is going to be so glorious, but it's not going to be as glorious as you think. Yeah, it's just reality. It's just what it is. It's life.
And that's the journey. Like it's saying, okay, that's what it's going to be. I'm committed to that. I'm going to keep riding that upward trail forever. Yeah. Like I'm going to learn how to do that. I'm going to keep pushing forward. And honestly, when you said earlier, like what motivates you is like getting what you feel you're capable of and like what you need for yourself and for your family, and not getting to your deathbed and saying, well, shit, I should have pushed harder.
Right.
Honestly, to me, like what sounds like a satisfying life is dying on the way to something better. Like you're like, right.
I mean, shit, you're like die. I know what you mean, but like exhausting yourself, I think it's a better word.
Well, exhausting yourself like a good way, like saying
exhausting yourself for the where you want, what you want and where you want to be.
Yeah, like stopping and saying, hey, I'm on my way to something better. For whatever reason, like I haven't had the blessing of like getting exactly where I could be eventually, but because I'm on my way out, like this is as far as I can go. And I'm looking back and saying the whole of my journey, I've been pushing towards something more. I've had goals, I've chased after them, I've achieved them. Whether those goals are starting a company, becoming a millionaire, having a family, whatever it is, you're just on that continuous progression. And you're never going to ultimately be satisfied. No. But you will be fulfilled and happy along the way because you're doing that.
Right. And that's satisfied in effort rather than satisfied in achievement.
Satisfied in effort. I love that. That's dope. Satisfied in effort. Yeah. Do you think, I was going to ask you, like, do you think that being satisfied in effort, would you say like that is like the core of what you're about?
I feel like that is what I am about.
Yeah.
I want to be satisfied first in my effort because I know that if I'm satisfied in my effort, then I'm happy. And that everything else will come within time.
Yeah.
Because knowing who I am and knowing that I will still I'll continuously push forward and try to and work as hard as I possibly can to get better, even though I know that I will fall, but knowing that I'm still focused on going in that direction, that's cool with me because I know that within time I will be where I want to be and do my best job within that time as far as when it comes to developing myself in the best way possible and the quickest way possible. Yeah. And that's what makes me the most happy.
So with that said, like being satisfied in effort, what are you doing right now that you're excited about? Like what you want to share with people? Like this is my journey right now.
My journey right now is, I feel like my obsession right now is building my personal brand, and that's my social media accounts and my blog, website, because right now is the first time that I put, ink on paper as far as long-term wise that my great-great-grandchildren would be able to read.
Which is super cool, by the way. Like, I think a lot of times I was actually thinking about this the other day when I was home at Christmas, thinking about like my mom and like her stories and like how I know like who she is and like the mark she's going to leave on my life. What you just said, like my mark on the world, like what are my grandchildren going to read? That's something I don't think about all that often. Like, what am I actually leaving in the world?
Right. And it's something that you really, really should, because you have to realize that now is the first time ever we'll be able to keep everything.
Forever.
Forever.
Dude. So
and so like, even 200-300 years from now, like your kids, or your nieces, nephews, or whatever, or anybody in your family or anybody in the world, and go back and see what you did.
Like, who are these assholes sitting here drinking way too much beer?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they'll be able to see this video. They'll be able to see everything you've done as far as, you know, you putting it out there wise.
You know, it's crazy. So this is totally off topic again, but similar. So have you watched the TV show Black Mirror at all?
I haven't.
So Black Mirror, the idea behind it, right? Like, this is a Black Mirror, right? Like, it's a black screen. So it's like, how's technology affecting our lives? That's the whole premise of the show. There's an episode about this where they're talking about, like, you've got your whole life out on social media. You record videos, you have your Facebook profile, you have your text conversations, whatever. And the idea, the hypothesis behind this one episode is, like, when you die, right, when you have that, like, if let's say you're in a relationship and your significant other has a, like, experience of loss, so, like, you're no longer there, but you're online. And there's a company in one of these shows that makes essentially, like, your double. They take all your social media posts, they take your pictures online, whatever, and they recreate your personality in, like, an artificial intelligence. They say, like, here's how you would have responded to this Facebook post. Like, here's what you bought at the grocery store, whatever it is. And they make you in an artificial intelligence that people can talk to, that lives on past your death.
That's weird as fuck.
Isn't that super weird? But you think about it, like, if most of your life is online, if most of your life is in digital format, blogging, whatever, technically you could do that.
I don't agree.
You don't think so?
And the reason I say that you cannot is because you have to understand what you post online. You never post any of the bad. You don't post.
No, that's totally true.
Yeah, no one posts the day-to-day, like, you know, habits that they have or stuff that they're struggling with, or
it's always polished.
Exactly. It's what you want it's the perception you want to have, and what you want others to see of you.
Yeah.
And so it would be, like, you know, I guess accurate in that sense. Yeah. But you as a person, no.
But either way, like, you're leaving.
But as far as, like, you know, your social, I guess, your social
presence online, or
media content, and like how you would say something, whatever, I can definitely see that. But it would not be you. It'd be more of the person you perceive yourself. You showed yourself to the world.
How you showed yourself. Yeah. So one way or the other, though, what you're saying, and I think what this is echoing, is, like, you're leaving a footprint. Like, you're leaving an impression online. You're going to put things that go down, and, you know, for generations in ways that haven't before for people to see. And so what you're saying is, make that worth watching, like, make that worth listening to.
I mean, for myself, and the expectation I hold myself to, and what I want to do is to inspire people who come and look at my story, just like, you know, Mark Twain and all those dudes from the past did, you know, and have that type of impact on people. Yeah. And to, you know, and if I inspire to do that, then I'm okay with what I fall short on. You know what I mean? Because that's that's, you know, like a Martin Luther King, a Gandhi, a Mother Teresa. I mean, I guarantee that they look back and be like, damn, I had a big ass impact. Yeah. And so that's what I want to shoot for.
But I bet so with that, though, I bet that they didn't realize that on the way. No, like, they were just working hard. Like, they were just dudes starting up SuperFly Cables and moving on to their personal brand. And, like, all of a sudden they were, you know, getting the British out of India.
Right. But they were passionate, and they worked towards the goal, the ultimate goal they wanted in life, rather than the short-term rewards, like, you know, getting these shoes or going to this game or whatever it may be.
You weren't afraid of the grind.
Just thinking about legacy rather than the right now and the money and all that stuff. And so,
yeah, that's powerful stuff. I was thinking about, you were mentioning this was 2 times ago that we talked. So, have you been on Facebook much lately? Like, because you kind of stay off social media.
Yeah, I do, for the most part.
Yeah, man. So, like, people are losing their shit over, like, the presidential cycle right now, right? Like, I don't know what that is, because I agree with you, right? Like, you're for the most part completely in charge of your destiny, and, like, you're in charge of where you're going. Sure, like, you're not in control of, like, the elements that, like, put you where you are, but, like, you are in control of how you respond to it. And it's weird to me that there's a lot of people that look at something like the election and they're like, fuck, Trump got elected. my life is over, right? Like I can't get to where I want to go. I remember talking to you about this like early on in this election cycle, because I got like, I kind of like went overboard in like having conversations with people, and like debating people about like how dangerous I thought Trump was. And I remember talking to you about this actually at Brew and Brew downtown. And we were talking about, I don't even remember specifically what brought it up, but I was like, hey, this is a problem. Like we should want XYZ outcome because it's better for us or whatever. I remember you saying something along the lines of like, I don't care what happens because I'm just going to get mine one way or the other. And so what I'm wondering though, what do you think the line between being self-motivated and self-empowered and pushing for what you want, okay, and controlling what you can control and focusing on yourself, what do you think the interplay between that and focusing on making the world on a larger scale outside of yourself a better place actually is? So in that example, just to kind of bring it home, what do you think your responsibility as somebody who is really passionate about success, really passionate about entrepreneurialism, really passionate about making the best life for yourself that you can, what do you think your responsibility is to the rest of the world in terms of like politics? Or let's focus on that one specifically, like on politics. Like, do you think that you have a responsibility to try and make a better like canvas for people to paint their entrepreneurial pictures on, or do you think it doesn't matter at all?
I'm trying to understand. So you're saying
that was a long ass question,
right? Yeah, you're saying that like as far as like I'm passionate about.
Do you think
in like politics and the influence I have on that, or what?
Yeah, like do you think that like as a citizen, as somebody who's really well equipped to be successful, to make your world good for you to be in, like do you think that you have a responsibility to make the path easier for other people through politics or through involvement in whatever? Like, or
not at all.
Not at all.
I don't think I can go my entire life not even mentioning politics to anyone outside of myself, my own thoughts.
Yeah. And
I think that if that isn't in a line with, I feel like God's purpose for me and what He wants to do for me, like while I'm here, and my ultimate goal and all that stuff, then that's not for me. Because you have people in politics, you have people, in sports, entertainment, business, fashion, every single area, you have people who are influencers and people who are like known as experts in that field. And so for politics, it's not a passion of mine, and I don't think it ever will be. And so I feel no responsibility to have any type of impact on it, because that's not my area. But rather in entrepreneurship, I definitely do. You know what I mean? And so I feel like it's important to be focused, very, very focused, to have real influence and real impact on people. Because if I felt that way about politics, I would be a politician, and I would aspire to be a politician.
For sure.
And so I feel like the time that I'll put into it won't help anyone.
Well, let's
just a small number, maybe.
No, I totally agree with that. I think that's how most people feel. Like my influence in this sector won't do much, so I might as well put it where it will do.
Right, and focus on it.
So here's what I wonder though. Like as your influence increases, like as you have a larger following, like as you are able to put your voice and your lessons out in the world on like in a bigger way, does your responsibility to make the world a better place in terms of politics, does that also increase? And let me give you an analogy to kind of highlight that. As a person, like as an entrepreneur, trying to put yourself out there in the world and be the best you that you can be. If we think about it like painting, like we were talking about earlier, as a painter, if we're going to use that analogy to a person, basically you're painting on what you have, right? Like you're figuring out the best way to paint Lance Johnson on the world.
Yeah.
Okay. So the canvas that you have, you're not in control of. The painting you put on it, you are. But as your influence increases, you can help change the canvas for other people, right? And you're kind of doing that right now with your blog. You're teaching people how to have better technique, better ways of looking at the world, better ways of being to achieve success. But that canvas that's more of what I wonder. Like, can you help people change the canvas of their lives, not just the painting methods they use? Does that make sense?
Right. And so what you're saying is that if I were to be like a 6-year-old, have so many successful businesses, and the impact at its fullest potential, that would be greatest as far as the task and the things that I focus on, be politics, as far as when it comes to the impact of people, and that being like, you know, with me doing that, I'm having the greatest impact on people in a positive way. If that's the option and that's the best option for me right then, of course, yes.
But what you're saying is like right now, that's not.
Right now, of course, it's not. Not at all.
I think I understand that now.
And so, I mean, that's like we were talking about earlier, the age Z thing, the Z thing.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, and so like this is me focused on E, and maybe politics is V. You know, maybe that's later on in life. But me, like actually, like, you know, like we talked about before, also the whole me documenting, you know, my day to day and, you know, my goal setting often, seeing where I want to go. Like that will show me over time, like, okay, I need to go over here to do, you know, fulfill the goal.
But you got to pay attention to know that's where you're
exactly. Going. Yeah, it's very, very important to pay attention to where you're going and analyze yourself and see what you want. Often to know that, okay, that's even a direction I need to go in right now. You know what I mean? So that helps so much, and it'll let me know.
Take stock.
It'll let me know, like 40 years from now, or 20 years from now, even 10 maybe. Lance, you need to take a right turn and go this way. You know what I mean? So
no, that makes a lot more sense to me. It's not so much that like politics or like involvement in like a more global thing isn't important. It's just that that's not where your time is.
That's where I'm not best right now. That's where I don't have the greatest impact there right now. My greatest impact, and also that is in line with my passions and stuff, is the whole personal branding and entrepreneurship right now. And so maybe 20, 15 years from now, that changes. But right now, this is the best, you know, for myself. And, you know, I'm confident that it's the best for myself right now because of where I want to go and where I see myself.
But the only way you can know that is if you actually stop and take stock of it. On a
right. And you learn about yourself, you know, and you understand where you're going, and you put it down and make it, you know, it's something real rather than something you think about.
Yeah, no, I love that, man. We should probably wrap this up. We're gonna go on forever.
I
know you could. I could too. So if people, so obviously you've got a lot of stuff going on right now. If people want to find you, if people want to like track your journey and grow with you, what's the best place to find you?
First place would be to email me.
Okay, email. You want people to email you? Is this 1994?
You're talking about communication, right?
No. So where can people like
follow or get in contact?
No, so where can people learn more about what you're doing right now? Learn more about your journey.
Number one, I would say my Instagram and Snapchat, and also maybe Facebook.
And Instagram is Justin Bieber Lover 12.
Yeah, right.
1249.
It's Lance Johnson _.
I'll put it in the show notes.
And then Snapchat is Lance Johnson's. So Lance Johnson with an S.
Plural.
Yeah.
Well, is it
Lance Johnson was taken.
There's more than one Lance Johnson?
Oh, it's a lot of Lance Johnson. And then Facebook, I guess Facebook page, I guess would be The Lance Johnson.
Yeah.
And
what's your blog? What's your blog?
The blog is thelancejohnson.com.
Perfect. We'll send people to it. And if you were to summarize, right, all these lessons, we talked about 1,000 different things because there's always 1,000 different things going on in the brain of Lance Johnson. If you were to summarize one thing that you would encourage people to do to get from where they are to where they want to be, what would it be?
One thing?
Yeah. Any one thing.
I would say it would have to be to find out where they want to go and then backtrack and set goals that align with that. Maybe it's 10 years from now you want to be here. To backtrack and align your 5-year goal with that, your 1-year goal, your 6-month goal, your month goal, your week goal, and your day goal.
That's small, attainable.
All the way down to your hour goal and even maybe 30-minute goal. And to do that often and work harder, smarter every single day.
Yeah.
Simple. That's the blueprint right there.
So easy.
That's the blueprint.
So easy. Yeah. No, I love that. Love that.
And smarter covers a lot of things. Smarter covers like your personal development, growing in every, like, you know, making sure you're eating right and have enough energy to put in your best work and a whole bunch of different things.
Set goals, know where you want to go, set attainable things on the way.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's all it is. Simple as that.
Huh.
Set goals.
It's easy. You heard it here. It's all it takes, guys. Yeah. Set goals, execute, fuckers. Usain Bolt.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything big you have coming up you want people to know about? Anything you're doing right now you're excited about? Making a Kickstarter for your
no, not anything.
Your women's underwear company.
No, but the only thing right now I would say just the blog and the Instagram account. Cool. Is what I'm focused on. The social following. Cool. Building that brand. I'm working on sharing that more. Yeah. As I grow.
I'll definitely push it out any way I can. Love it. Awesome, dude. Cool. Loved having you in, man. We'll definitely get you again. Thanks everybody for listening. We love you. Pale Blue Dot. Till next week. Boom.
Bam.